What's up? Welcome to Cameron+Deanna.
Hello there.
Today we are going to be ending the year by taking a look at all the games that I played this year. We're going to go through, kind of rank them, talk about the overall experience with them. After we do that, we're going to also go take a look at my top games of all time list. This is a list that I maintain in air quotes. I try to only edit it during this stream and not like constantly have it changing. So I do have a new rule / criteria that I'm going to be putting on this list that's going to change things up with this year. After we do that, we're going to also take a look at the list that I made last year on the 2023, this one, 2023 games I want to play, and kind of chat through which of these did we actually play, what actually happened. And then we're also going to end the stream with going and making a list like this for 2024. That way we actually have the breakdown of what is going on. And so with all of that, as we go, please chat, let me know what your favorite game of the year for 2023 was. For YouTube, not sure if this is going to be one video, if I'm going to crop this up into different places. We'll see. Per usual, we're going to let our heart be our guide and key, and we're going to go with that. And then, yeah, so let's jump into it. So this is the list of all 50 games. My goal for the year was to play 40 different games this year. That was based off the fact that last year in 2022, I played 23 different games. And so this year I had wanted to do 40 just because 30 didn't seem that crazy. And I was like, okay, that's only 17 more. Did end up hitting 50 though. And so pretty excited about that. Some of these are a bit of short runs, we'll say, either because the games themselves were short or because my experience with them is short. So this is also going to not necessarily be like definitive ranking. This is me kind of talking about my experience, and I'll give any sort of caveats as we go through that list. And yeah, we'll kind of just have fun with that and see where we end up. Trying to think, I thought there was maybe I should have wrote things down. I never remember to. I was thinking there was another criteria. Maybe it was just this, that as I call out here, live service / continual games are only going to be talked about if something serious happens to the game that changes the experience. So like, for example, here, Magic the Gathering Arena is not on this list, even though that's probably my most played game of 2023. But it's not here because it was kind of adding new sets, normal Magic stuff. And so similarly, Fall Guys is not on here because there wasn't really like a huge update to the experience there. Since I didn't mess around with like the course creation stuff. So, yeah, with all that said, let's go into edit mode. Oh, and I should say we are using GG app as our place to do this. Not sponsored, just a cool website. If you want to follow me on there, I'll drop my a link to my profile in chat, and then you can also go and create all of your own lists. Like I said, I like to use it to track what I've been up to. It helps me to do it throughout the year versus trying to figure it all out at the end of the year, which is definitely a big struggle. I've tried to do that before, and it just did not go well. And so we're going to do our best to go through and get in a ranking of these games. And so, oh, I guess I should say for 2023, I flipped to this earlier. So last year for my top games, a Panda Boy, how you doing?
Hello there.
Last year, my top games were God of War, Elden Ring, and Celeste. I did put Fall Guys on here, and then we also had Horizon, Pokemon, Marvel Snap, and so lots of cool stuff on here. Excited to kind of go through. I remembered the other thing that I wanted to say. So this is about games, and we see this at the very beginning of the list. This is about games that I played this year, not about games that were released this year. So that would definitely be a different list if we only looked at the 2023 releases on here. And so in some ways that can be like kind of bias. Like Celeste is my top 3 from last year, but did not come out in 2022. So there's definitely some stuff there that can occur, but we'll roll with the punches as they go. But Panda Boy, how was your Sunday? Welcome. What is your game of the year for 2023? I should also say at the beginning of the year, we were also doing morning streams still. Baldur's Gate seems like a good choice. I still need to play Baldur's Gate. 2020, beginning 2023, we were doing morning streams. That stopped about halfway through the year. And so that kind of does change up a little bit of a lot of these we kind of played on stream. Like it did kind of change things once that pivoted away from it. I think somewhere around here, around Tears of the Kingdom, was when that changed. I don't remember for sure. So, but yeah, with all of that, let's start going through the list. We're going to go in the order that we played the games because that was the order that we are in. So Artful Escape, we kind of had a Annapurna indie beginning of the year, which was kind of fun. Artful Escape it's interesting. It's one of those things I definitely struggle to call it a game. And I think we'll see that this is going to end up being ranked pretty low on the list because of that. It's kind of hard to recommend just because, again, it's not really a game. Wizened Lemur, happy Sunday. How you doing? Roth, welcome as well. You need to finish Outer Wilds. We'll talk about that a little bit in a moment. But yeah, Artful Escape, it was interesting. I liked the visuals. I liked the music. But yeah, kind of hard to recommend. We're going to see that this is going to be the only time Artful Escape is going to be at the top of this list. So here we are. Mostly over the COVID, so that's nice. That's good to hear, Wizened. Hopefully your recovery continues to go well. We did Platinum Artful Escape. It was a very easy Platinum, basically just play through the game. Next one, Outer Wilds. It's going to get moved up right above Artful Escape. This game was the need something to play until Fire Emblem comes out game. And I enjoyed this. Definitely didn't finish it and kind of got burnt out on it. Definitely felt like I got to the point where there were either objectives that I think I knew what I needed to do but wasn't sure, or there were objectives that were harder to do, and it was just kind of got burnt out. And so that definitely feels like a struggle with this. I also feel like this is a game that you kind of had to fight the controls, especially around flying, where there were definitely times where it was like, oh, we're going to land there. Oh, just kidding. We shot way past it, which, might actually be accurate for space. But Varoth says, game of the year for is probably Octopath Traveler 2. You thought hard about Final Fantasy 16, though. Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't make the grade from you. Ooh, interesting. Why doesn't it make, why not? Strong agree on Outer Wilds. Yeah, it's a cool idea. It's the type of game that, like, I want to exist in the world. But, yeah, it's not really a game that clicked for me. That was going to then bring us to our first, like, AAA game. Our first party game as well for the year with Fire Emblem Engage, which we're going to bump up to the top of our list currently. And so I loved streaming this. We played through the story entirely on stream. I loved the combat to this game. Getting the rings was very cool. I liked Alear. I wish the story for this was a little bit less Saturday morning cartoon because there's a lot of room for some really deep character development here. But overall, the story fell a little short. But the gameplay was so good. It's very interesting comparing this to Fire Emblem Three Houses, which I believe is on my top games of all time list. Yeah, this my current number 8 for my top games of all time. Because I really feel like this was like the inverse experience. Fire Emblem Engage was super deep combat, really interesting maps, I thought, but like the most mediocre story. While Fire Emblem Three Houses didn't necessarily have anything that was insanely challenging, at least playing on normal, on the maps, but it had this super cool political intrigue story. So obviously not every story can be for everyone, but Fire Emblem is like my favorite Nintendo IP, and so I really enjoyed this one, even though I've by no means played the others. Next, the first game that I played off stream, and that was Foreclosed. So this game is another indie like cyberpunk game, with the idea being that in a world of cyber implants and things like that, that the bank could essentially foreclose on your implants and then you would not be able to use them. And so it was a really interesting take on cyberpunk themes and on that world. Unfortunately, I feel like this game struggled from trying to do too many things. There's like mediocre combat, there's like mediocre stealth, and like mediocre story, or like social type stuff, social interactions in the game. And I really feel like if it would have just done one of those things, or one or two of those things, instead of trying to do all of them, it would have been very interesting. Like I would have, like if this would have been a like third person shooter like story, I think that would have been very interesting for it. But the fact that it's trying to do stealth, it's trying to do all this other kind of stuff, it really feels like it spread itself too thin for the playtime. This was the game that I was glad I beat, in the sense that like I was glad I was done with it. And so, Varel says, "Why not? Baldur's Gate 3 story was dark. Companions are hard to like. Companions and NPCs are largely not good people. It's a fine game, and the above equates to it did not resonate with me." Yeah, I get that. I'm probably going to come back and quote you on that when it comes to a later game on our list, Varoth. And so, Foreclosed, yeah, I think I'm going to leave it in last here. It's something that I wanted to like, and maybe that partially is partially on me of why it's not going to end up higher. But if I was going to like make a recommendation to someone else, I would much rather encourage them to go play The Artful Escape for its whimsy rather than playing Foreclosed. Let's see. Next up, we have Last Stop. So this is a Telltale style game. Think The Walking Dead, Tales from the Borderlands, that style game. I didn't beat this, and I actually had it on my system until like yesterday, because I just like had intended to go back and play more of it. There's still a chance I go and do that at some point, but right now I definitely have it. I have it abandoned. I'm curious to where it's going to go. And like, because of that curiosity, I'm going to move it up here above Foreclosed. Like I could definitely see myself in a different year, where, there wasn't banger after banger farther down on the list. I could definitely see myself wanting, to come back and take a look at this game. And so, it's an interesting, like kind of sci-fi body magical body swap kind of thing story. Yeah, so it's interesting, and like I said, I could see myself coming back to it, but not really in any hurry to do so. And that kind of gets me, this and Outer Wilds kind of gets me to something that was one of my goals for this year, especially with trying to hit at least 40 games, is I wanted to give myself permission to not beat games. I'm typically pretty bad about feeling like I have to get my money's worth. And that kind of leaves me feeling like I have to keep playing games even if I stopped having fun. We'll talk about that did happen this year with a game farther down on the list. But with that, I just kind of wanted to give myself permission to like, hey, make the biggest sunk cost fallacy. Exactly, Varoth. And so even if it's free, like that's kind of the crazy thing of like, of these first 5 games, Fire Emblem Engage is the only one that was like an actual release. All the rest were from PlayStation Plus Extra. And so even when it's free, that's something that I struggle with, but wanting to try more games, I wanted to give myself permission to just like bounce off of the game. There's a game that I did that a little bit further down that I entirely anticipate coming back to. And then there's a game at the very end that I just noped out of. And so that was kind of a big focus for me this year. It sounds like a mental health focused approach. Exactly. Yeah, it's time is too precious. And so I didn't want to necessarily force myself to get through these games. This was also the year of easy mode, of like, I fully embraced story difficulty for a lot of games. And I'll talk about those once we get there, if I felt like that impacted my playthrough. Like I had intended to do that for Fire Emblem Engage, but with the rings, it actually felt too easy. So I think we bumped up the difficulty, and like I think I restarted the campaign off stream to catch up. And so yeah, so this was the year of piecing out on games and story difficulty. So just Gary, how's it going? Sorry late. They mandated you into work today. Oh no, I just saw the message on Discord. Well, happy that you're here. I hope work is going okay. Let me know what your game of the year is down in chat. Vra says, heck yes for story difficulty. For real. I just kind of want to get through. I have something I'll add to that at a later point. But story difficulty, definitely the way to go. Next up, we had Hogwarts Legacy. This was like a relatively early contender for me for like game of the year. I definitely think I kind of played this game in 2 chunks. I think because of a later release, probably because of Last of Us. But like I played a very big chunk of this game and then left it and then came back so that I could finish. And I feel like that first chunk that I played, I loved. It was great. I had a lot of problems with. There's obviously problems with bigger picture stuff with that IP as well. But really enjoyed that first portion. And then when I came back, it just really didn't click with me again. A lot of the things, I kind of equate this to the Jedi Fallen Order map problem of like, when I was playing Jedi Fallen Order, I really liked the map. But then when I came back to try to get the platinum for it, it was just miserable. And the map was way more complex and confusing than it needed to be. And I kind of found my opinion on that changing once I stepped away from the game. And so I kind of feel like that's what's going to happen, or that is what happened here with Hogwarts, of like a lot of the things that were annoying, like the flying controls, I feel like got a lot worse once I stepped away and came back. This game was called out for not having Quidditch. And then like after playing the game, I was like, there's no way Quidditch belongs in this game with the flying controls. Like you couldn't even like fly around and like look up and down without it changing the altitude of your broom. And then there was also some like, and we're going to try to keep this as spoiler free as possible for these games. But something that I kept finding really funny about the Hogwarts Legacy story is you would meet your professors for the first time. And it was like every in-game like month you would meet a new professor for the first time. And it's like, we've been going to school here. Like I get that they don't want to just like drop you into all of your classes, meet all the characters at once. But it was really funny at like the halfway point to still be meeting people. And so it's definitely something. Deanna coming in with the creeper emote. Well, here's what you played this year. So with Panda Boy say System Shock, Stray, Jedi Survivor, Dead Space Remake, RE4 Remake, Amnesia, Outlast Trials, Lego Fortnite, and Baldur's Gate 3. Good list. Lots of things that I will not be playing on that list, specifically Dead Space, RE4, Amnesia, and Outlast. But that is a very good list. Hogwarts Legacy, right now I'm going to put it into, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of create the vibe of the list. Then we'll come back through and rearrange things. And so, next up, Deanna played Jedi Survivor, Dreamlight Valley, Fall Guys, and Minecraft. All good games as well. Dreamlight Valley was our like most played game of the year. And so on PlayStation, I should clarify. And so Chunk was giving me a hard time because it's like, wait, you didn't even play that one, but it's my stats because we're sharing that account. Gary says it would be Pokemon Scarlet and Violet for games you played this year, but didn't come out this year. For games that came out this year, it'd be Between Tears and Mario Wonder. Nice. I still have yet to play Mario Wonder. That's one that's like on the list to get to. But I have not. So I do not have an opinion on that. But I do have opinions on Tears of the Kingdom, so stick around for that. Okay. Chicory: A Colorful Tale. This is a very fun, very minimal like indie game. The story about you kind of going and finding your place in the world. It's very artsy. You do it like you paint things and fill in like the world with color. I liked that you're not necessarily required to be good at art to do this. And this one was a lot of fun. I really liked it. And it has some good like kind of social commentary, anxiety kind of themes that it deals with. And I think it did a really good job, at least from my perspective, with how it handled that. I also got the platinum for this one. And this is definitely the type of game that like I would recommend to people off of I don't think people expect this to be what a video game is. And I think it pulls it off very well. Kind of unlike Artful Escape, like Chicory is like actually still a game. On top of having this really good commentary and this very unique like gameplay kind of puzzler style when it comes to some of like the boss fights. And so we're going to bump Chicory up to number 3 and kind of keep going from there. Phantom Brigade. I've gushed about this game. I gushed about it last year on my list, and I said that 2023 would be the last year it's going to actually be on my played games list. But this is a mech tactical RPG that I first demoed at PAX West, I think in 2019. I think that was the year that we went to PAX. This is one of the only like early access games I've ever paid for. And this year it had its full release. It's been amazing seeing what the studio has done with this game. I'm going to try not to just like rehash everything that I've said every time I talk about this, but like this is one of those games that is like that I am the target audience for. It's very cool mech-based combat. It is tactical, lots of customization, what weapons, what loadouts do you want to bring, things like that. There's a lot to this game, and I do feel like that can be one of the places that it does suffer, is there can be a lot of fights that feel kind of samey in terms of like, oh, it's this location, but now we spawned in on the other side of it, or things like that. I do feel like that is something that it can deal with. I think I probably put in like 4 to 5 hours into the actual release, and so still have a lot of time to go on that. This game is kind of always on my playing list of, it's like once a month I'll kind of boot it up, play 30 minutes of it, do a map or two, and then put it away. Kind of just to keep up with where we're at update wise. But I love Phantom Brigade. I cannot talk highly enough about it. It is definitely a game that is like right up my alley. Okay, for us is my big games. Path of Exile, as always. I need to play Path of Exile. I think I have it through Epic. Let me see. Pause for oh no, I have Pathfinder. The Pathfinder. I thought I had Path of Exile in there, but I guess I do not. Maybe it's on PlayStation Plus. But I need to try that one. I've heard really good things about Path. Octopath Travel 2, X4 Foundations. I'm not familiar with that. What is that one, Veroth? Euro Truck, Age of Wonders 4. Heard good things about that. Marvel's Midnight Suns, fantastic game. I still need to go and beat that. Battletech, Per Aspera. I don't know what that is. Total War Warhammer. FF16 and Baldur's Gate 3. X4 Foundations, Fly Around in Space, Sandbox. Ooh. What is Midnight Suns? So Marvel Midnight Suns is a game that came out last year. It was my number 10 from last year, apparently. It is based on a comic book. I don't know if it's technically like a comic book run, or if it's just like some standalone comics. It's kind of focused on the more magical side of the Marvel world. And it's about this group of heroes that comes together to fight Lilith. It is, there's kind of like some like light friendship, relationship type stuff with people, with the heroes, as well as it's a tactics game. And so it's by the people that made XCOM. And it is it's more forgiving, I guess I would say, than XCOM. because it's like the superhero fantasy. So like your characters can't miss. So the game like takes that into account versus XCOM where like you'll miss your 95% chance shot. And so it's a very fun game. Definitely recommend it if you're into tactics games, or if you're a Marvel fan. Like it's definitely one of those games I put. I said this for Phantom Brigade. I'll say that for another game later on our list. It's like I am the target audience for this game, and so I really enjoyed it. I think I got like halfway, 2/3 of the way through the story. And so it's one that I just need to go in and finish it. But I think other stuff came out and I never doubled back. So Per Aspera is a story-based Mars city builder. Ooh, that sounds pretty cool. I like that. Yeah, I need to check that out then. Vroth, could you DM me that on Discord? I want to check that out. And I don't want to forget. And so, okay, so here, Fandom Brigade. I think I'm going to sit it at number 2 for now. I could see it bumping down here, kind of somewhere between 2 and 4 of the current list. We'll kind of just see how that shakes out. Mostly because I feel like I didn't necessarily put in enough time into the 1.0 release to necessarily give it that place, but we'll see. Metroid Fusion. This was on Nintendo Switch Online and through because it's GBA, like through the GBA emulator. I wanted to like this game. I know people really like Metroid Fusion, and I think it's broadly considered one of the best Metroid games. It was not for me. This kind of solidified that, retro Metroid is just not my genre. There were some things that bothered me about Metroid Dread, and I feel like those things were like cranked up to 11 on this without some of the like over the top things that existed on Metroid Dread. And so I would like to go and play more retro games. We have a few old like other ones on this list, but with there being but this one was just definitely not for me. And it's going to be the first game on this list that I kind of feel like I'm the outlier on, but we're going to see those come up a little bit later on. And so right now I'm going to drop it above Artful Escape, below Outer Wilds. I wanted to like this more, but it was just not for me with the way that I did not like the boss fights. I feel like a lot of it was like, oh, the enemy comes at you super fast from off screen. You have 3 frames to dodge or something like that. So I just did not have a lot of fun with the boss fights. The atmosphere is cool. But yeah, it just did not really click with me in the same way as a lot of the other games or even Dread did. Next, The Last of Us Part 1. This feels disingenuous, but this is my number 1 so far for the year. Last of Us Part 2 is my favorite game of all time. So it's not really a shocker that The Last of Us Part 1 would be put up here. I went and played this after watching the whole HBO series, or after watching most of it. I had originally intended to play through week by week and kind of keep up with the show. Then ended up falling behind. And so I think I finished it a week or so after the show ended. I could be misremembering the timeline there, but that was the idea. But it's a fantastic story. I love, I don't necessarily have a ton new to say about it. Part 1 is, probably the best way to play the game if you haven't played it yet. This was also my second time returning to The Last of Us in not that long, because I played Remaster. Did I play Remaster in 2022, or was it? I think in 2021 I played Remaster, and then in 2023 I played Part 1, and so it's cool returning. I very rarely go back to games, and so it was kind of interesting going back to this in such quick succession. I do eventually want to go and do a grounded run of both of the Last of Us games just to kind of see how far I can get, but we'll see. I also, per the earlier conversation, kind of like easy mode, and so so that kind of is a thing on there. Next up, we have Chia. And so Chia is a very fun game inspired by New Caledonia. I think like one of the things that this game did best is it really made me want to go visit New Caledonia, which is not a place that I knew really anything about. And it was a very cool experience. Smaller team. I believe that this is an indie game. And the movement in this game was very fun. It kind of has this mechanic where you have this magical ability to like possess animals or objects. So you can like possess a bird and then fly around, or you can possess a rock and then like jump off a cliff and you don't take fall damage because you're a rock. So there's some really cool things. Oh, you can also do like fish and stuff like that and swim around where you don't need to breathe. I really liked this. It was a very fun play. I did get the platinum in this. I wish there was a little bit more to this story. Like it kind of felt like towards the end, it was like hitting on some social commentary type stuff that I kind of wish it would have embraced a little bit more or had more time to breathe. Maybe social commentary is not the right word. But yeah, it kind of felt like it was trying to go places in the story and it just did not get there. Did not have time to get there. For now, I'm going to put this as, what is this, number 4. Definitely would recommend this. I was excited to see this get some nominations at the Game Awards. I'm kind of sad it didn't win indie game there, or Games for Impact, I think is what it was up for. But I haven't played the other games that were nominated for that category, so I don't necessarily have an opinion there. But I really liked it. I think it's a great game. It's also like a pretty like chill game to go through. Like there is combat, but it's not difficult. You kind of have this like when you unpossess something, you can fling it. So you kind of have this mechanic of like possessing a rock and then jump out of the rock and fling it at your opponents, or possess something on fire and then shoot it to light an enemy on fire. And so it kind of had some cool things going for it there. Next up, Untitled Goose Game. So this is a game that is very beloved by many. We played it for like one morning stream and found out that it was co-op and then stopped playing. I really want to come back to this game and play it co-op. And kind of through that, this is probably one of the ones I feel most disingenuous about having on this list. Just because there's so much to this game. I really enjoyed my hour and a half with it. But I know there's so much more to it. So because of all of that, I'm going to set it here below Chicory. I could see this ending up like a lot higher if it kind of continues to keep that vibe. And for people that don't know, you are playing as a goose and you're basically a nuisance for like this neighborhood. And so it's about you like solving puzzles. So it's like steal this person's sandal, or cause them or get their hat and throw it in the pond or stuff like that. And it has a dedicated honk button, which is kind of the best. And so, like I said, really enjoyed it. Again, kind of feels disingenuous having it on this list, but just because there's so much more to that game that I want to experience, but we'll put it up there for now. Meet Your Maker. This game kind of came out of nowhere for me. I had not anticipated liking this. It's a like user-driven content game that's kind of set in a dystopian future. I'm very close to the platinum for this. I actually think I just need the co-op trophies for it. But like this game clicked with me in a way that I had not anticipated. This just the like one more run vibe and kind of getting to see all of the interesting things that people do, and what all they have built was a lot of fun. The aesthetic is definitely there and is something that like I'm not a huge fan of, but I did really enjoy it. I enjoyed the gameplay loop. I really think you should be required, like from like a meta perspective, if you build a course, there just has to be a way to the end, which means that there are some courses that are like literally unwinnable, because you just literally can't survive them. And so I wish that there was a way that they could kind of force a check to make sure that this is actually something that people can play. But with the way that it currently was, that was kind of like my biggest knock against it. Other than I wish there was actual story or actual like developer created levels that you could play through 5 to 10 levels. This is what the developers made. Here's them kind of showing off some of the ideas of what you could do and things like that. The fact that it's all user generated, I do think is a detraction from it. So with that, we're going to put it, it does kind of feel like Outer Wilds is going to end up being this break point for a lot of the games for me. I'll put this above it. So we'll put it there for now. Again, I really liked this, and I had not anticipated this game clicking for me. But I had a lot of fun. It was a lot more fun to like make your own maps than I had anticipated. And kind of you could go back and like watch people play through them, and you could kind of get the vibe of like, oh, this one section's very easy. What can I do to make this one section more challenging or something? And so I really liked what they did with that, and I would really like to kind of see them do more with that. But hopefully that's something that if they get a sequel, we can see them doing that. Next up, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So this was playing this, had some downtime going into Jedi Survivor. We'll talk more about Survivor once we get there on the list, but had some time, wanted to just kind of do another, don't think I did a full playthrough, but I went and played a decent chunk of the game, kind of just coming back and getting ready. I love this story of the Jedi series. I'm going to save most of that for when we get to Survivor and talk about it, but this was really fun getting to come back in and replay it. I'm going to set this here above Hogwarts Legacy. So I think we got about halfway through the game. What's up, Locksteady? 19 months, over a year and a half. Thank you so much for the support, Lock. I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday and a great New Year's Eve, my friend. Happy to have you. We are chatting Game of the Year 2023. We are, how far are we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We are 14 games deep right now out of 50, and it's been 30 minutes. So we might need to zoom a little bit more than I'm zooming, but please, chat, continue to be awesome. Let me know what you've been playing. If you have thoughts on any of the games as we go through, please let me know. And then, Locke, let me know your Game of the Year 2023. So current top, it's a little bit of a cheat, but it's The Last of Us Part 1. And then in terms of new games for this year, Fire Emblem Engage. And so we're going to kind of see how that continues to shake out. And so next up, we have Mario Party Superstars. And so this is a game played with just Gary and Chunk the Hut. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's Mario Party is exactly what you would expect. I think this is like the classic, like first 4 Mario Party games. And so I played a ton of Mario Party 1 on N64. And so it was really fun, like returning to those mini games, and getting to experience some of those courses. This also kind of falls in that category of like playing games with friends is fun. And that's kind of what, like for all of the problems in Mario Party, like Chunk just winning out of nowhere because he wins out of nowhere for some reason. The getting to play with friends, getting to have fun, those like sweeps of like people stealing stars and all of that is just so much fun. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. This is one that like I've intended to bust out at like family events, and just haven't really gotten there. Should play again sometime. We should. I know I've missed the last, I think you and Junk have played a couple times without me because I couldn't make it. But we should definitely play more. I had a lot of fun with this. I think we played 2 or 3 times, and it was definitely a lot of fun. We're going to put this above Meet Your Maker. I'll put it above Goose Game. Again, we might end up removing Goose Game from the list since that one does feel a little disingenuous, or the most disingenuous so far, but I don't think this. Locke says, honestly, BG3 followed closely by Spider-Man 2. I have thoughts for Spider-Man 2 later Haven't played nearly as much stuff this year as you feel like you should have. It happens. Like, that's one of the reasons I want to do the list of what games I'm excited for. It kind of helps me keep an eye out for stuff and then gives me an interesting place to reflect. Panda Boy says, didn't play Hogwarts or Zelda, but you want to. Of the two, I would definitely recommend Zelda. We'll talk about it, I think, like next game or 2 more games. But of those two, I would definitely recommend Zelda. Your buddy Dilly straight up hard reset the N64 one time when you were playing Mario Party because he went from first to last in one turn due to people landing on spots in a level that triggered environmental stuff. Yeah, that's the embrace the madness that is Mario Party. I kind of equate it to like, it's definitely the game that is less about winning and more about what is the outrageous thing that is going to happen to someone. It might happen to me. I might be that person that has this insane lead and then loses it all at the very end. Or I might be the one that like has the story of like the crazy comeback. And so, we are on Tears of the Kingdom next. So this is another game, kind of like Hogwarts Legacy, that I feel like there is a core of this game that I really found interesting. And then there are parts of this that did not click for me. It's back to Mario Party. You have to know what you're signing up for if you're going to play Mario Party at all. Exactly. And I feel like people play it as a game to win versus something like Jackbox that we'll actually talk about a little bit later on. That it's more about just like hanging out and playing games with people. And so I feel like that's more of the vibe for Mario Party versus this like, I gotta win, I gotta be in first place. So Tears of the Kingdom. I loved the tier storyline that they did with Zelda. I found it way more interesting. I think that from a actual playing as Link story standpoint, Tears of the Kingdom is one of my least favorite open world designs. Because you can encounter the story in any order. All of the stages just feel super samey. In terms of their content of it's like, oh, this thing happened. I went and met them. Now I have to go do this quest where we're going to talk about the Binding War or whatever it was called. And then it's going to end with a flashback where we find out what happened to their ancestor. That's basically the exact same flashback as the other ones. And it kind of just ends up feeling like the middle chunk of the story is nothing. That being said, man, that's why you didn't rush to play Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, I really wished we would have played the Zelda story in this. This was my first console Zelda game. And I don't know if it's always the case, but man, Zelda is so much cooler than Link. I would snap play a game as Zelda. Whereas like, I don't know if I'm necessarily interested in what the next Link game is going to be. I do like how insane the creation suite is with Tears of the Kingdom. I wish that was needed more. It kind of just felt like, look at all these cool things that you can do, but you don't need them. And so I wish that there was like more of an incentive. Like people are making mechs, doing all this like crazy stuff. And I just wish there was a little bit more of a need to make those things. But yeah, let's see. I saw a thing where the creators were like, we don't understand why people would ever want to go back to the old 3D Zelda formula after Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, I saw that comment as well. And that blows my mind. This is why it's going to take us forever to get through this. And Gary says, I was so surprised that Tears wasn't your second most played game this year, and is your top 3 after saying you weren't even going to get it. Yeah, you went super deep in Tears, Gary. But yeah, that comment about they don't know why they would go back to the old Zelda formula is one of the things that like upsets me so much. We're gonna do a Hello Darkness. That is one of the things that bothers me so much about game design is that because we've done this thing one way, why would we ever go do it the other way? And it really bothers me like we saw this a lot in like PS3 era as well, where every game had to be open world and every game had to have multiplayer. And it was like, some of them were cool. Like there was definitely some very interesting things there, but like a lot of games don't need that. And I'm always much more interested in games being what they need to be, versus what developers or publishers feel like they have to be. And I would be most interested in playing a Legend of Zelda game again if they went back to the older formula of like actual dungeons, like those types of things, rather than this open world formula. Because like I said, the storytelling side of this, I didn't find that interesting, but the shrines in this game, super cool. They definitely had that appeal of like, I'm not sure if this is the solution or that like is intended, or if I just like figured out some wonky way to get through, but that was super cool. There's only like one or two that I had a serious problem with. Like one of them was like you're trying to like catapult something and you actually had to use a piece in a specific way to do that. And that kind of felt against the vibe. But other than that, like the gameplay of this game was a lot of fun. Let's see, did I ever show you the fan designed Zelda game where you did play as Zelda? It was a steampunk magic themed? No, but you have my attention. If you want to shoot that my way, I'm definitely interested in like watching a video about that. I'm trying to think if I had what else. Also, it's coming off of Pokemon, which we'll talk more at the end of this list. It's insane how well Tears runs for the amount of stuff that's going on the Switch. Like, is it the best running game? Definitely not. But like, it's crazy how well that it runs. Nate just says wrong. Whatever is happening. For that, Nate, Sea of Stars is going to be at the bottom of the list just to teach you the lesson. I'm still watching ads, so I haven't even seen anything. Nate is just coming in hot. And so that's Tears. We'll probably talk about it a little bit more later on. I'm going to sit it. It's definitely below Engage for me. I feel like both of them did not have great stories. And, Locke, thank you so much for gifting that sub. I appreciate you, my friend. So it's definitely below here. I definitely liked Engage's gameplay more. Again, that's not shocking. Fire Emblem's my favorite Nintendo franchise. I'd probably put this below Chia as well. And so the worst part of this is that I'm on GG instead of backlogged. I've briefly looked into backlog. I've considered switching over. We'll see. I might look into it again in the new year and see if I want to like convert my lists and stuff. And so, and then it's definitely above Hogwarts. And so I'm going to put it here, below Chia. So my current number 5. And it may end up like shifting around here a little bit, but that's where we are for now. Humanity, super. You're just giving me a hard time. Oh, no, completely understand. Completely understand, Nate. And so Humanity, super interesting puzzler, kind of Lemmings, where like you're playing as this pupper and you're helping like humanity navigate towards the goals. This was a fun platinum. I liked for this game that for the majority of the challenges, it felt like it was like the same results would always happen every time you played. There was like one or two maps that like I had to look up the solutions on, and it was something that I had tried and hadn't worked for me. So that is definitely something that I think is a knock against the game. But there were some very cool puzzles. I really liked how like what they did with it and how they kind of adapted the theme of like eventually there's like some light combat that the humans get into with the bad things, and so that was kind of cool. Like there are some where like you basically have to use one force to hold back the bad guys and then have your other ones go around the back to blow up their spawners and stuff like that. It was a very fun puzzle game, and I really enjoyed this. This is going to be going pretty high. I'm going to put this as my current number 3. It's definitely a very interesting puzzle. You do have to like puzzlers to get through to get it. And if that's not your vibe, it's definitely a game that like would not be for you. But I really enjoyed it. Keep going down. Final Fantasy 16. Loved this game. I definitely feel like I've been talking with Trombone about it a bit lately, and it's been very interesting to kind of like sit on this. It was one of my coworkers' first Final Fantasy games, and so I also got to talk with him as he was like playing through the game and experiencing it. I loved this game. A lot of it is super over the top in like some of the best ways. I loved all of the dominant fights. Or not the dominant fights. I loved all the icon fights. They were all ridiculous. Like the Bahamut one is like one of the most insane, like non-final boss moments in a game, which is how ridiculous that it is. I do wish that Ultima was a little bit more fleshed out as a villain. That's kind of like the point, I guess. But I'm very interested to see what the DLC for this game is going to be. And then one of the things, we did stream this one on the channel. One of the things that I talked about through all of it is that there's a lot of things in this game that I feel like shouldn't hit or that wouldn't hit with a lot of people, but man, they hit from me. Of like the button mashing in a cutscene, like the QTE type stuff. Like it was all relatively minimal. And so when it happened, it felt like a big deal. And I really liked that. This was like another early contender for me for Game of the Year. And it's going to get bumped up to first place. And then I liked the acting. I'm super happy to see that Clive has gotten a bunch of nominations for, how is his name? Zach. I forget the actor's name that plays Clive. I wish they would have done more with some of the supporting cast. I have heard a criticism of the game that like every character in the game is defined by their Ben Starr. Thank you. Appreciate you, Varoth. Every character in the game is defined by their relationship to Clive, which I think is a fair criticism. But I liked what they did with the characters, and the majority of them left me wishing that they would have done more. I don't want to go into too much more detail based off of spoilers. But then side quests here, I really think they needed some work on these side quests. Some of the side quests felt like they were mandatory. Like you got some really interesting story points that were like relegated into side content. And there's other side content where it's like your character literally acknowledges that you're on a fetch quest. And I was like, well, if we're going to acknowledge this, like it feels like we could just not do this quest, right? And so that is definitely one of my biggest criticisms there is how sporadic those were. And so I liked that a lot. And so I liked the game a lot. I wish they would have done more with the side quests. But Nate asks, are these all played games or just finished games? So these are any game that I played this year, enough to feel like I could talk about it. So I don't think I mentioned this at the top, but like for First Geek, we did our first playthrough or first time playing Overwatch 2. Where like for like a stream, we played that. Overwatch 2 was not on this list because I only played it for that one time. But yeah, so it's any game that I played that I feel like I could meaningfully say something about. And then with that, I also gave myself permission to not finish games because that is something that I struggled with. So like there are some games on here that are like, that we noped out of. And so like a famous one from 2022 was when I went and played Ghost Runner and uninstalled it on stream. I just like hit my breaking point and was just like, you know what, I'm done. Uninstall this game. We're going to play something else that's more fun or more my speed is probably the better way to say that. And then I know a lot of people really like Ghost Runner, but next up, I really want to watch that video. It's, I need to watch that one. There's somebody posted in the Checkpoint Church Discord a video about, it's like you have permission to not beat games. And so I need to go and watch that as well. Let's see. We're at Death's Door. Loved this game. Is a very fun action kind of like top down. I know this gets compared a lot to like some of the earlier Zeldas action wise. And I really like this. I think Death's Door is a fantastic game. You play as like this bird and you're like the harbinger of death, essentially. I really liked Death's Door. In fact, I think it might go up here. This is one I don't think I platinumed, but I would definitely be interested in going back to and playing more. The combat was very cool. I really enjoyed it. And definitely would recommend. I know it kind of gets put between Death's Door versus Tunic is like one of those fan-made arguments. And so that was very cool. Locke says, fun side note, Death's Door is a secret sequel to Titan Souls. I loved that. I like it when developers can kind of create their cinematic universes between their games. I really liked that. Let's see. And Locke says, dang, just hit you so wrong that you booted it on stream. So sad you missed that. Yeah, I streamed it once or twice and then like, or 2 or 3 times. And like the final time I streamed it, I just hit this section and it just felt like this is zero fun. It is miserable. This is no longer fun challenging. It is aggravating challenging. And so I just uninstalled it on stream. And so yeah, I definitely did not play Ghost Runner 2. And so when that came out this year. And so, and Nate says, Death's Door is so good. It's in your top 10 this year. It's a fantastic game. It's definitely one of the ones that like I missed when it came out and was really cool to return to. Loop Hero. This was a free game, I believe, through Epic. And I really liked this one. The idea is that you're a hero and you literally are walking in a loop. And as you do the loop, you're getting more powers, you're finding stuff, you're putting down like tiles, which then cause other things to spawn. Not this year, Nate says. You played Death's Door on release. I gotcha. It's year. I read this year. Yes, I had misread your comment. So Loop Hero, a lot of fun. I'm going to kind of put it here. I wish that there was... it felt like for some of the maps, there's just kind of like an objectively correct answer, or for certain characters. And I wish that was a little bit less the case. And so I would definitely recommend checking it out. But it's a game I don't necessarily anticipate that I will be going back to try to finish. And so Nate says Loop Hero is on your back. I really enjoyed it. I played, I think probably the first half of the game, and then we're just kind of out. Now it's just kind of feeling samey. It's because it's kind of an idle game, but like not quite. It's kind of a roguelike. So it's an interesting take on that genre. And so let's see. Locke says, if you're a fan of speedrunning GDQ, there was a phenomenal Death's Door GDQ. They want to say maybe, I think I watched that after I beat the game. It was super cool. Varas says, I feel like I'm not done with Loop Hero. Like you could go back and remember a bit more of the world. It's fun. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. It's like, it's a game that I could definitely see myself booting up, doing more of. But at the same time, it's like the type of game that I feel like is like, doesn't call to me, but just kind of is there. He says, I see Outer Wilds on there. No, thanks. Yeah, you and I think, we have some very different game takes, Nate. But I do feel like Outer Wilds is one of the places that we agree. Axiom Verge 2. This is a game that I played and noped out of pretty quickly. I kind of put this, and I'm going to actually just put this with Metroid Fusion. Because I feel like I had the same types of issues there with Metroid Fusion as I did with Axiom Verge. Some of the stuff just felt like, I don't know if redundant's the right word, but like it just felt like it was not for me. And then I know this is a hot take, especially with Locke in chat. I feel like some of the reasons that I did not like Axiom Verge is the same reason that I didn't finish Hollow Knight, where it felt like I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and the game is supposed to be mysterious. and you're supposed to discover it. But it just felt like I have no clue what I'm doing, and I was just spending a bunch of time walking around. And so I really feel like that was kind of my struggle there. And then similar to Metroid Fusion, of like there's that point in every Metroid game where you're like expected to just blast every single tile and one of them breaks away. That's kind of the same vibe that I felt for Axiom Verge. And so he says, I have very different game tastes from like everyone. One of these days I'll find your Danganronpa people walking around. It's breathtaking handmade art. Oh no. I kid, and you do love Hollow Knight, but you get why not everyone loves it. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, this is not a Hollow Knight chat, but like, so I don't want to go too much off on it since I didn't play it this year, but I do feel like Hollow Knight is the game I need to go and give another chance to, especially if Silksong ever comes out, and so we'll see there. While it's not possible, you think you need Outer Worlds to have a story mode? No platforming, no wonky controls, just exploration of the story. Yes, Varoth. Hard agree there. Oh yeah, hardcore look up walkthroughs for Metroid games. Yes, ain't nobody got time. Yeah, that was definitely the frustrating thing for me with it. Pardon not it's called the Souls-like for Metroid for a reason. Yeah, definitely agree. And like the Souls-like side of it, I feel like didn't bother me as much as the like, I'm now just stuck, and I don't know if I'm stuck because I'm supposed to get a new power, or I don't know if I'm stuck because I need to go to this one place and do something. Like, that was kind of me. I was also trying to not use a guide, which, was probably also on me. And so, not just the difficulty, but specifically the no hand-holding, figuring it out. Yeah, definitely. It's waiting for me like Outer Wilds. People overhyped it so hard, and there's no chance. Yeah, I feel like kind of to Roth's point, the controls I feel like are my biggest thing. Like if they just made it so it was like, hey, you can move around the world and explore, I would be much more interested in that. But the act and like kind of discover the mystery, because I did like the story of it, but I did not like the controls. So. Next up, we have Toem, a very cool, I believe, all black and white game about this kid that goes on a journey. You dress up your character, you take photos, but it's not really about like photography necessarily. It was, as Nate says, super cute. I definitely really enjoyed it. I kind of put it in the same category as Chicory. In fact, I'm going to drop it there for now. Where like it's kind of using its unique art style to tell a cool message. I believe I got the platinum for this as well. Until it isn't. Chicory is a great comparison. Yeah, it kind of hits that same vibe. Of the two, I think I would recommend Chicory more to people. Trilina, how's it going? Happy Sunday. How is your day going? How's your New Year's Eve? We're chatting Game of the Year for the games that I played this year. Current number one is Final Fantasy 16. How are you doing today? A bit more creative, ludologically than Chicory, but Chicory is a better story. Yeah. I definitely feel like Toem does a little bit more interesting stuff with its maps and things like that than Chicory does, but the Chicory story is definitely like, that's a story that I will recommend to people. And so I think we're going to leave them like that for now. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So I had a very interesting experience with this game. We're going to come up towards the top and we're going to just drop it. We're going to drop it in fourth for now. We might move it around a little bit more. Very interesting experience with Jedi Survivor. So as Deanna called out in chat earlier, this is one of the games that she played this year. She actually streamed the whole thing on our channel, which means I didn't play it like as it came out. And so a big part of my experience with this game was just watching her play. And then I eventually doubled back and played it myself. And so it was kind of interesting. As I said with The Last of Us, I don't typically go back and replay games. And that's one of the reasons I don't watch a lot of Let's Plays, is I feel like, oh, well, now I have no desire to go and experience this story. And so I won't watch Let's Plays for story-based games unless I've already played them. Or watch people stream story-based games unless I've already played them. And so it was kind of interesting. There's definitely some really cool stuff that happens in Jedi Survivor. I love where they are taking Cal. Cal. I'm very excited that Cameron+Deanna got some nominations for actor for the work that he does with Cal. They need to bring Cal into live action. I would love to see them do more with that character on like the broader Star Wars sense. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. And I love that for all of the flack that like modern day Star Wars is getting from the like do gray Jedis, I really like how they do gray Jedi with Cal. And I really like, there's a specific scene in, when you meet the villain where they like, it's like the first time that we as Star Wars fans have gotten to see something on screen. It's like the first, hopefully this is not a spoiler. If you care about Jedi Survivor spoilers, please tune out for like the next 15 seconds. I've given you time to mute. When you meet the villain and he turns his lightsaber crystal from like yellow to red, it's like the first time that we've seen like the dark side of the Force corrupt a crystal. And that was super cool. Like that was just like one of those things that was like, we know could happen, but like seeing it happen was super exciting. And so I really liked that. And I like that Cal has become a lot more of the, do whatever it takes to stop the Empire Jedi, compared to some of the other characters, like Ahsoka, who has kind of remained like the bastion of light. Cal definitely walks that gray side of it a lot more. So let's see what I miss in chat. Trina says, I'm doing nothing for now. I was about to go downstairs and see your mom needs help. Nice. Rosa, I'm supposed to be making dinner, but I'm hanging out on the stream with the stream for now. Appreciate you hanging out. Hope whatever you do for dinner is great. I think we're doing ramen tonight. I'm excited about that. Also doing some light work related reading. Nice. Trina says, haven't finished Fallen Order, but really liked Cal in general. You'll play Survivor once you finish Fallen Order. Definitely recommend. I loved them both. Cal is a great character. Definitely recommend. Locke says he finished Fallen Order this year, but never did start Survivor. I really recommend it. There were some like crazy like get hype story moments in Survivor. And I really liked what they did. There's also some like literal laugh out loud moments in the game. I got Survivor literally 2 months ago and installed it to see if it runs on your PC. Hey, you know, that's the struggle sometimes. So we're going to leave Survivor there for now. We might move it around more. Okay, so now we got our star games. Your RX 570 really holding up. They are a let's play watch for me. Couldn't get into the gameplay. I get that. Fallen Order and Survivor kind of have that like not quite Souls-like, but not quite just general action game. Oh, and I meant to say this. I referenced a Varoth comment earlier and said we would come back to it later. And I meant to do that with Fallen Order. And so let me see if I can find that comment real quick. I cannot find what I'm looking for. Oh no, it was this. Okay, this is actually for the next game. It was not for Jedi Survivor. But I will say this: Jedi Survivor is the perfect easy mode game. Like you feel like you are an awesome Jedi when you play this game on easy mode. And you're like bouncing back all of the stormtrooper shots. Like it is the perfect easy mode game. This year is the year you bought more games. TBH, usually you get 3 to 4 a year. This year you bought like 30 games. Ooh, hopefully you had time to play them all. I try to like keep a minimal backlog. But yeah. And so I will say Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order, fantastic easy mode games. Okay, next, Starfield. And this is what the Varoth comment was that I wanted to come back to. So Varoth said, when talking about why BG3 was not their game, they said the story is dark, companions are hard to like, the NPCs or companions and NPCs are largely not good people. It's a fine game, but the above equates to it did not resonate for me. So for Starfield, I would say the story is bland until the end. Loved the end of the story. The companions are hard to like. Companions and NPCs are largely way too good of people. And it's a fine game that equates to it did not resonate with me. Of like, I really feel like Starfield is the type of game that if they continue to support it, there will be some sort of update that makes the game super different, whether that's the DLC or something like that. I really liked the main storyline of this one after about like the final third of it. Like the ending, like the last couple missions of the story were super cool, and I definitely had the like, I cannot stop doing the story quests because I need to know how this ends. I was not expecting that for a Bethesda story game. It was such a good like finale. I love that, without going into spoilers, I like that New Game Plus is like actually tied in with the plot. Although I do not like that you can spend all of this time designing bases and doing ships and all of this, and then none of that carries into New Game Plus. Like, that's super frustrating. And then these are some of like the most generic companions I've ever seen. Of like, some of them are just like, you know what, like, I'm a good person, how dare you do something bad? And it was just like, okay, I guess that's what we're doing. I know like a lot of people have talked about using the robot ally companion because he's the only one that doesn't judge you for like stealing. And so I really think that that's a miss. The navigation in this world is also not great. I was listening to MinMax's Game of the Year talks. One of the things that they brought up is that like, so in Starfield, you take a loading screen to get in your ship. Then you get a loading screen to get from the ship to the space around the planet. Then there's a loading screen to go from the planet to the next planet. Then there's a loading screen to land on the planet. And then there's a loading screen to get out of your ship. And it's just like, is it fast travel when it's the only way to travel and it's super slow? And like, there are ways that you can like skip some of those steps, but like, I honestly feel like Bethesda bit off more than they can chew, and they should have focused with having a tighter 5 to 6 galaxy or like star systems rather than having it be as giant as they did. I think that would have been a huge boost for what they did. And so with that, Starfield, I still like, again, I really enjoyed the story, especially the end. I wish it was, I think we're going to drop it. This is a hard one. So I think it's going to land either above or below tiers for me. I think I'm going to put it below. I don't know. Cause like this, so for me, this is like the challenge of the game. Of like, I feel like I enjoyed the Tears of the Kingdom sandbox a lot more than Starfield's sandbox, but the actual like plot, for Starfield, I enjoyed more, and they both have bad companions. And so I think I'm going to leave it like this for now. We'll see if that's actually where we sit, but we're going to put it there. Before we get to our next star game, let's see what happens in chat. Steam changed, or Locke says, I need to learn some self-control when it comes to buying games you want to play. The struggle, man. Trilena says, Steam changed the prices from Argentina pesos to dollars, so you bought all you could before the change. Ooh, interesting. Yeah. For us, is interesting. Can't play Starfield. My PC runs it. The only game cannot run it. The only game you cannot play. I feel very bad because a friend gifted it to me. Oof, I'm sorry. That's very rough. Also, Starfield is ending the year with mixed for all reviews and mostly negative for recent reviews. Yeah, I get that. Nate says, loved Starfield, but it was definitely due to the story. The characters were not the best, but honestly, you can only think of one Bethesda character you thought was memorable, and that was Nick Valentine. You're not wrong. You also love the Fallout style gameplay. So it worked for you, but you could see it not being for everyone. Yeah, I enjoyed the gunplay. It's by no means like insane. I definitely would say it's a better shooter than Fallout is. Like, it actually feels like it's a competent first person shooter. Whereas I feel like Fallout kind of struggles with wanting to be an RPG, but also being a shooter. I will also say for Starfield, I had intended to go back and do a lot more of the side content, since obviously that's where Bethesda tends to shine. And just like after I beat the game and I played like a little bit more and just never really got back into it. And so that's definitely something there. I think it's still installed. I'll probably go back at some point. We'll see what happens with DLC. But yeah, he says I also don't want to play a shooter. Yeah, there is that too. I would definitely say that broadly speaking, I find Fallout way more interesting than I found Starfield. Okay. So next Sea of Stars. Before we get into that, I think Tears of the Kingdom and Starfield being next to each other is a compliment to you, even if it's because you aren't crazy about either. Like that happens. And so, okay, next up we have Sea of Stars, which I think is my like stray of this year, in the sense of like it's a game that I played and I enjoyed, but I do not necessarily get the hype around this game. It is beautiful art and beautiful music, but like I feel like the beginning of the game is pretty generic, and then the like normal ending for the game I think is like one of the worst endings in a video game. Just like straight up. It basically feels like you have to do the true ending. And even then, I feel like the true ending is just a mediocre ending. The gameplay is pretty fun. I played this essentially on easy mode with a whole bunch of relics, which I definitely don't think I would have finished this game otherwise. And then overall, I liked, I think it's Valerie and Zell, as the two like playable characters. And I will say like a bunch of people love Garl. Garl did not connect with me. And I was telling a friend of mine that, and he was like, Cameron, Garl is literally Sora from Kingdom Hearts. And I was like, you're not wrong, which is like definitely some like self-reflection for me of like why I like Sora is one of my favorite characters and Garl just like does not remotely click for me. This is the game that, again, like I enjoyed, but I do not necessarily understand why people kind of are treating it the way that they treat it. We're going to drop it here above Zelda for now. It may end up getting moved around a little bit once we do a final pass through. But that's where we're going to leave it for now. Nate says it's a love little JRPGs through and through. Yeah. And I love that the Chrono Trigger people have come and talked about Sea of Stars and kind of what it means to them to kind of see that inspiration. Like see people inspired by them. And so I definitely get that. And I like that it is there for someone. And like, I feel like the latter 2/3 of the game are super interesting story-wise. And then the game just like flops hard on its face. I think if this game would have stuck the landing, it would be different for me. But the fact that it didn't kind of definitely had it leave with a sour taste in my mouth. This is also a game I went and platinumed. And I feel like that also left a sour taste in my mouth because there's a trophy for like beating a certain number of bosses with a certain piece of equipment. And man, it's just miserable to get through all of that. So I probably also colored this to an extent, but yeah, we'll leave it there for now. Locke says, for you, the hype around Sea of Stars is entirely that it's a quiet prequel to The Messenger, which is one of the best Metroidvanias. I need to go play The Messenger. I know that was something that came up in some other conversations. Maybe did I stream this one day? I don't remember. Maybe I was hanging out on other people's Sea of Star streams. I definitely want to go and watch and play the Messenger, or at least watch like a playthrough of it. But yeah. He says, if you loved the Messenger, then you should 100% Sea of Stars because the secret ending is so worth it. I also think playing Messenger first made you love it that much more. It'd be interesting. I'd be interested to go and see if playing Messenger kind of recontextualizes the game and maybe makes the ending make more sense. For me, Garl is fine, but he's lovable. So I disagree. Like, I was in the camp of like, Garl, please stop talking. Like, I hate achievements trophies like that. Yeah, I don't understand why they had that in there. The rest of the trophy list is pretty great, with the exception of the Moonerang, where you have to hit like 25 bounces, and like, that's hard. That was not easy to do. And so I kind of had to go out of my way to make sure we could get that. Great, total wreck, and then Lock. I'll go check it out. Like, both Lock and Nerd, Pastor Nate, I recommend it. You'll stream it for me if you want. I want to try it. Like, I feel like I kind of am getting this rep with this list with Fusion and Axiom Verge, and like what I said about Hollow Knight of not liking Metroidvanias. I really do. I just don't like it when they're intentionally vague. I would much rather the game just kind of actually have some good like signposting and stuff like that. But I want to at least try the Messenger. We're already an hour and a half into stream. Oh man. And so we're having good chats. That's what counts. Next up, Fae Farm. Fae Farm and Pokemon trading card game I played on Deanna and my anniversary trip where we went to Disneyland. Fae Farm is like the first cozy game I've played in quite a while, and man, I loved it so much. I want to go back and play more. How high are we going with this? I think we're going below Chia for Fae Farm. Maybe below Sea of Stars. It was a super cozy. I love that it is cozy. So like, you're doing like the farming side of things, meeting villagers, doing all of this stuff. But then there's also like a magic side of it. So like, you eventually get fairy wings and can fly around, and there's a fairy realm and stuff like that. I definitely want to play more and kind of see it, but like, it actually has like a kind of interesting story, which kind of shocked me about it. And so I really enjoyed Fae Farm, and like I said, I want to go and play more of it. So honestly, for years you did not like them. Like, Symphony of the Night was the only Metroidvania you liked for a long time. I get that. It's only some of it. It's its own thing. But then Hollow Knight came around, and then the Messenger, and you really started changing your tune. Yeah. I would highly recommend Sundered, which is from the same people. It's from Thunder Lotus that did Spirit Fair, which is a radically different game. But Sundered was a very fun Metroidvania roguelike, where like certain, oh, you played Sundered? Let's go. It's like certain areas of the game are set, and this room always appears this way, but how you get to that room may differ. And so that was definitely one of the ones that was like a big thing for me. Okay. Pokemon trading card game. This is the Game Boy game that I played, similar to Metroid Fusion. I played through the GB emulator on Switch. Really recommend. It's such a fun romp going back to the first gen of Pokemon. I really wish that the game is intended, of course, to be marketing for buying the trading cards. I really wish they would have done a bit more with the game and kind of pushed it past that. Like, there's one gym, like the Psychic Gym, that basically like requires you to like solve a puzzle for how to beat one of the people, and that was super interesting. I wish there was more in the game than that, or more of that type of stuff of like solving the puzzles and learning decks. But broadly speaking, I just played with the Blastoise deck and just steamrolled through the whole game, which was fun. I enjoyed that, but I do wish there was a little bit more to it. Sundered was one you went to after Guacamelee. Nice. Which was a huge shift in tone that you wanted another co-op game. Yeah, Guacamelee and Sundered are both fantastic. Lies of P. This is the Pinocchio / Timothy Chalamet Souls-like. This is definitely on the list of games I want to play more. I think I'm going to dump it here above Chia for now. I liked Lies of P quite a bit. I think I'm like area like 7 or 8 through the game. And I was really enjoying it. I want to go play more. I feel like this is something else came out and then I got distracted. And so I also was playing this on computer, not on PlayStation, which I feel like did contribute some. And I'll talk about that in a moment as well. But Lies of P, I think it's definitely the type of game I would recommend to people. It feels like it's a Souls-like that isn't as insanely difficult as the Souls-like, but is still challenging. So like it's still fair and it's still interesting, but it kind of has a lot more quality of life things versus some of the other Souls-likes. Like there's a summon that you can use for every boss fight that's like actually competent and doesn't just get one shot. So like if you want an easier time on the bosses, you can use that. Like the way that parrying works, you can like break enemy weapons, which then helps you in the long run, stuff like that. Definitely recommend, and I really enjoyed it. Let's see. Honkai Star Rail. This came out on PlayStation this year, and wow, this game was not for me. I had enjoyed Genshin, and then with Honkai Star Rail being like a turn-based like RPG, I was very interested in what it could be. And it did not, you've heard this game's name so many times. Yeah, it's all over the place. And it did not click for me. I think one of the big reasons it didn't click is because it's a gacha game. You don't have the characters that are part of the plot in your party. So like the battles feel completely disconnected from the story. And it just made me not really care about the plot because it's like, oh man, that was a hard fight. Like you weren't here. You don't know what was happening. And I feel like if this was a game where you actually like, that was not a gacha game, I would have loved this game so much. Cause I did think the story from what I played was like interesting. It just did not click for me. I'm going to actually put it pretty low. We're going to put it below Metroid Fusion. Mostly because it is both a gacha game and then the characters I just did not connect with. Beautiful art though, beautiful character design. Like they do a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, it is not something that like I would easily recommend to people. Dio, how's it going? Happy New Year. We are chatting favorite games of 2023. Our favorite games that I played for 2023. And so we're getting towards the tail end of the list. But what is your favorite game from this year? Hope you're having a fantastic New Year's Eve, my friend. Thank you for coming by. Okay, next up we have Cocoon. This was on Game Pass, and I beat this game in one sitting. It was a type of game that like I just like couldn't stop. And this one's like a pretty high up for me. I think it's gonna be below Humanity. It's below Death's Door. I think it's above Lies of P though. It's a super interesting puzzler where the idea is like you have these orbs. Mario Wonder's up there for you. Nice, Dio. I need to play that one still. So like Cocoon, you have these orbs and you like jump into the orb and then like solve puzzles. And then eventually you get multiple orbs and like how you carry them between each other is interesting. Because it's like, oh, you can use the orb to power this thing, but then you can take it into the other one. And yeah, I'm not necessarily explaining it well, but like it's a very interesting take on it. This game also does a really good job with you can't fail in the sense of like, you don't necessarily need to backtrack. So it feels like you always kind of know where you're going. It's just, what do you need to solve that puzzle? And then towards the end, the narrative gets very like, or maybe narrative is not the right word, but the puzzles start getting very meta, which I kind of enjoyed. I won't go too much into detail there about how that happened, but a very fun take. And overall, like the puzzles, I feel like were designed well. There was only like 2 or 3 times I needed to look something up in like the 5 hours of the game. And one of them, I was doing the right thing on like a boss fight. It just wasn't working. And I wasn't sure if I was bad or if I was just missing something and I was just bad. It was on me. And so would definitely recommend Cocoon. But you've not played too many new games this year. Games that compel you to complete 100% is usually how you gauge them. I got you. Next up, Unpacking, to the top of the list. Unpacking is not my number one, but it's definitely up there. Unpacking was a fantastic game. I'm going to put it above Tilu. I say it's not my number one. It's currently number 2, I guess. We'll see if it actually stays there. It might bump down below Engage, actually. I think we're going to do this. I think we're going to adjust it that way. And so Unpacking was a game that did not come out this year, but was a fun platinum. It's also a super fun, like kind of cozy puzzler, where the idea is that you're playing this character as you move through their life. And so you're like unpacking. The first time you unpack, it's like your childhood room. And then, more short games. Exactly, Nate. And you're like in their childhood room, and then they go to college, and then they get their first place, and they move in with a significant other. And it's just kind of like the way that you play through, and it's like the stories that it tells with what items your character is bringing is super interesting. And then like there are some rooms where it makes you do something that like is telling a very interesting story with like this item has to go in this one place. And it's kind of interesting how it does that. And for a game that has no dialogue, no protagonist, none of that, it was very interesting to kind of see them tell that narrative through the game. Dio says it's on your list. 100% recommend Unpacking. It's such a fantastic game and was a fantastic experience. It also hits that line of like, it's not a puzzle game. Like there are like puzzle elements to it, but like it's not a puzzle game. So like obviously like there's kind of like the correct places you should be putting things, but for the majority of things, it's not like one-to-one. So like games or movies go on the shelf, but you don't need to organize games on one shelf, movies on the other, if you don't want to do that. And so I liked how it did that. Kind of like Chicory, where it's like you can draw very well, but you don't have to. Unpacking kind of has that same vibe. You can do like these super organized things, and the game takes a photo at the end. I just bit my tongue. But you don't have to do that. And so next, Marvel Spider-Man 2 to the top. Spider-Man 2 and Final Fantasy 16 were like my 2 most anticipated games of this year. So it's like zero shocking seeing them both up here. Spider-Man 2 was a fantastic game, a fantastic continuation of the story of Peter and Miles. Bit your tongue. Would not recommend. Exactly, Locke. Yeah. Do not recommend biting your own tongue. It does not work out great. I love where they go with the story in Spider-Man 2. I love that we kind of got to see how the characters and the plots develop. I love that it makes it so like Miles Morales like matters, which we kind of knew plot wise, but like I love that they've continued to hammer home that the Miles Morales game is not a spinoff. It is like needed narrative. Those 2 games came out recently, didn't they? Let me see. I know, or somebody in chat can look up when Spider-Man is fairly recent. Like I want to say it was October. I want to say Final Fantasy was like late spring, early summer. I could be wrong there. I loved the Spider-Man story. I know we had a discussion in Checkpoint Church about this because like some of the way that I feel about Sea of Stars is the way that Nate felt about Spider-Man 2. But I loved what they do with the characters. I'm excited to see where they go next. And unlike Final Fantasy 16, some of the side stories in Spider-Man 2 are like crazy emotional and hit crazy hard. Like there were multiple times that like I was like tearing up with some of the side content as you're just kind of like playing through the game. I did stream like my first play of this, and that very intro fight is like, I'm all in. We're swinging a Spider-Man. Let's go. And then, yeah, navigating New York. We get more area. You get the wingsuit. You get new powers and stuff like that. I really like where they go with this. And I could say more, but not without spoilers. And so, it says side content 2 has a side mission with Howard. Exactly. Hi-Fi Rush. So this game shadow dropped early in the year. I did not get to it until later. I really enjoyed this. We played this on easy. I just got so burnt out on Spider-Man 2. I'm going to just drop this here now just to drop it. I will say one of the things that burnt out on Spider-Man 1. I will say one of the things Spider-Man 2 does better is that it is a much tighter experience. The open world is not as exhausting as Spider-Man 1. That's one of the things I think Miles Morales did a lot better than Spider-Man 1, and I think they carried it over very well into this one, where there's stuff to do, but you're no longer having to do 1,000 crimes to do every area or stuff like that. They make the open world tedium less of a thing. And then instead of having like collect all 60 backpacks, it's find all 10 of this one thing, and then there's 6 different things, which I feel like helps because then you can have like plot lines that are tied into those things. So, because I felt it was also good because it was tighter than the previous games. I agree that Final Fantasy 16 I think is tighter than some of the other ones. Main story wise, yes, I agree. I think that there's some of the side content that is just there to have side quests, and so. But yes, I 100% agree with you, Varath, that 16 is definitely a tighter experience, especially compared to 15, and to some extent 13. But okay, Hi-Fi Rush. So this is it's apparently from like a horror game studio. I don't necessarily have all that context because it's Xbox first party, and I don't play scary games, and so. But Hi-Fi Rush is this like super bright, super colorful action game that's all about like the rhythm in the world. And so you get bonuses for like attacking enemies on the beat, but you're not required to hit them on the beat. I think we're going to drop this below humanity. And so it's very cool. Chai is like the type of character, and maybe this is the me not liking Garl again, but like Chai is like the super goofy, super like air quotes annoying protagonist that's just like, it's going to work out because I'm the main character. But the way that they interact with all of the other characters like really hit for me. I really enjoyed it. You also get a lot of like, why is the bad guy evil? Because they are, and they are so evil. Look at how evil they are because they're doing evil things. You totally see it with Chai. He was very like, I think that like the fact that they don't necessarily like redeem Chai, I think is great. Like he has some like where he becomes a bit better of a person. But yeah, it's more goofy. Yeah, and Dio says, very couple doesn't take itself seriously. Yeah, and I think that's the difference for me between Chai and Garl. Like, Chai is supposed to be an over-the-top caricature, whereas Garl just did not feel that way to me. Like, it felt like you're trying to make me care about this character, and I don't. And then Hi-Fi Rush, I do like that you don't have to do things on the beat. You just deal more damage if you do. That makes it a little bit less forgiving, because I definitely felt like it took me about halfway through the game to really start 100%ing, not 100%ing, but more consistently hitting the beat and finishing fights with like 80% instead of like 50s. And so, let's see, where else? What are we at now? Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So after Spider-Man, I was just in the mood for more Insomniac. And so I finally played Rift Apart. It was on PlayStation Plus Extra. And this game is so much fun. Like, this is kind of the classic, like, I'm late to the party kind of thing. We're going to put it below Survivor. You slept so hard on Rift Apart. That's kind of where I was at too. It was like, this came out and like, I enjoy the Ratchet and Clank games, but I would by no means say it's like one of my favorite IPs. And so I didn't get this when it came out, but like, it's so funny playing this after Spider-Man. And you see so much of the DNA for what they were doing with Spider-Man, or what they would do with Spider-Man in this game. Of like, you have two different protagonists that, for in Spider-Man's case, basically have the same or very similar move sets. They're the exact same in Rift Apart, but are slightly different in Spider-Man. You have a lot of the time jumping stuff. Like, and there's like a fight in Spider-Man 2 where it's literally Rift Apart. And they were like, yeah, you can tell what our inspiration was for this. This is also pretty fun platinum. And there's only like one trophy that I found was really annoying. It's platinum this and a platinum Spider-Man 2. And so like that was very nice. I enjoyed the platinum for this one. I really liked Rivet. And I really hope that that she comes back in whatever the next Ratchet and Clank game is. I would like to see them do more with that character. And so, also the game is beautiful. Like they do such a good job with the worlds and with the fighting. I wish that a lot of times the Ratchet and Clank games have a struggle in the sense that it's, once you max a weapon, you're basically never supposed to use it again because you need to be maxing other ones. And I wish it wasn't like that, but because it kind of feels like you get used to it and then you never play it again. Definitely want to see more of Rivet and whatever her Clank was called. You forgot. Yeah, I don't remember either. I was trying to remember that, and I was kind of hoping if I talked, I would remember it, and I did not. And so, but yeah, definitely recommend Rift Apart. What did I put that? Below Jedi Survivor, above Humanity. That feels good. At least for now. Hotline Miami, wrong number. This game did not click for me. I really liked the first Hotline Miami. And this one, kind of like Goose Game. This is kind of the inverse of Goose Game, where Kit, thank you, Locke. Where I played Goose Game and stopped playing because I knew I wanted to play more in co-op. Hotline Miami, I played and I was like, this is just not where I'm at right now. This is going to land pretty low for me. And I feel like this is not necessarily a knock against the quality of the game, but is a knock against where I was at when I played it. It just was not something I had the desire to play. He says same. Rivet's Clank was named Kit. Had to Google it. Don't feel bad. Hey, glad you got there. Hotline 2 went way off course. Yeah, I probably played an hour and a half, 2 hours of it. And then it was one that I uninstalled. Again, I don't know if it was something that I would want to come back to eventually. It didn't necessarily leave me feeling like I wanted that. Even though I think I did beat Hotline Miami 1. So it's going to land low. And this is one that I could see, like, if I was to come back and give it a better shake, see it moving up on the list, like at least into the, like, Outer Wilds Meet Your Maker area. But for where we're at, I don't see it going there. Persona 5 Tactica. So this is the Marvel's Midnight Suns for me this year, where, like, this is a game that, like, I am the target audience for this game. I love Persona 5. It's one of my top games of all time. I love tactics games. I want to play more of this. I definitely feel like I need to put more time into it. I'm going to put it below Survivor for now. And yeah, I love the new art style. It gets more and more weird that Joker is a silent protagonist in this game. Because he just kind of stands there and vibes while everyone else talks. But I love the Phantom Thieves. It was so good being back in that world. I streamed this a time or two. And definitely, I've played a little bit off stream and definitely want to play more. I could see this kind of being like, we're going to actually put it below Rift Apart. I could see this kind of being the hot take in the sense that's like, I'm rating a story-based RPG off of like 6 hours. And I could see that causing it to actually like end up a lot higher above Fire Emblem, or I could see that causing it to drop more. Just since it's not like the full experience for it. It could fail to stick the landing, just kind of like Sea of Stars did for me. Next up, 100 Days. This is a winemaking simulator game where you like run a vineyard. I really enjoyed this. I'm kind of slowly working my way towards the platinum for it. My biggest gripe, I'm going to actually put it here below. Actually, it's going to go here below Mario Party. My biggest complaint is that the wines don't necessarily feel distinct. So it's kind of like, oh, are you growing this wine? Do similar things that you would do to the other ones. And so even though you want every wine to have specific stats, you can kind of just do similar things and it works out okay. I also don't like, so after you discover like, oh, this one needs to be a 2 out of a 10 for the tannins, it doesn't save that for all of your playthroughs. And so it's like, now I need to go look it up every time. That's like a quality of life thing I wish they would do with it. Next, Forager. This is a game I played just a little bit. I think it's going to land here. It's kind of a, it kind of reminds me of like, you have like Minecraft and Terrarium, and Terrarium, that's not the right word. Whatever that game is called, where you have like kind of some similar ideas with Minecraft being 3D and Terraria, maybe it is that it, being 2D. And then Forager is like 2.5D, but kind of hits that same idea, where you're like making stuff. Terraria. Okay. Thank you, Locke. And I feel like it kind of hits that idea very well. And it kind of hit for the same reason that Terraria and Minecraft don't really hit for me. It kind of hit that exact same thing. Of like, yep, I can make more stuff. I can fight things. This is what the game is. But if you like those games, it's definitely a game I would recommend. Next, Haven. I actually platinumed this yesterday, 2 days ago. I really enjoyed this. It's a story about a young couple. We're going to drop it above Starfield right now as we talk, above Tears of the Kingdom. Haven is not co-op as far as I'm aware. I wish it was. But it's a like, I'm going to say a turn-based game. It's more like active time. And it's about this young couple that they're from a world where you are basically matched up with who you're supposed to spend the rest of your life with. They end up falling in love, and then they run away together to this planet that they think is abandoned, but sci-fi happens. Because I sort of on it for a while. I'm hoping to play it with Smalls. Yeah, I don't believe it is co-op. You could kind of do it, just in the sense of like, each character is one direction on the joysticks, or one side of the joysticks. That's how you control them. So you could each play with half the controller for that. But like navigating the world, you navigated solo. I didn't see a place to do that. But I liked the characters in this. I also like that. I believe this wasn't out when the game released, but you can choose the kind of relationship that your characters are in. So like the art is like a straight relationship, but they have a like lesbian relationship and a gay relationship. So if that's something that you wanted to change so you could see yourself in the game more, I like that they did that. It's a cool inclusion. And then, yeah, there's just it's a fun couple. It's a fun story. It's nothing like necessarily too serious. But I liked the story. And I liked them as a couple. It definitely has some of that like Romeo and Juliet, young kids in love. We're going to make decisions that could like radically alter things. And we're going to just not worry about it because we're going to be together. It definitely kind of has some of that vibe. Nate says it was cute. Fell out of it after a few hours though. I can get it. I can definitely get that. Did get the platinum. There's definitely some annoying trophies in the platinum. Nothing that was like necessarily too difficult. But like there's a secret boss that you basically have to just wait for it to show up and it will eventually show up. And that just like takes forever. And like I was like looking stuff up and there were stories of people that were like waiting multiple hours and it just like was not spawning. And so, and then there's a trophy for beating the game with only a certain number of deaths. And I did it with only one death. I think playing on normal mode. So like it's not necessarily hard to do, but like I could definitely see that being something that's a challenge. And I would say also probably not like there's nothing like necessarily graphic, but it's definitely not necessarily a game I would recommend playing with kids around. Just for some of the things that they talk about. I definitely think that that's something that'd be hard to have around younger kids. And so even though I think it's just rated T. So, and again, it doesn't like show anything. but for some of that content, I think would be around. Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. Oh man, is this actually not, this isn't the bottom. So this is a game that I don't know. I was interested in trying out and was definitely in the not for me camp. I think we're gonna put it here above Metroid Fusion. Played this a couple times. Wanted to play it more, and then the next game on our list came out, and I just kind of noped out. I relatively enjoyed what I played. Pandora is of course beautiful. This feels like an Avatar story in the sense that like it's extremely direct and there's zero subtlety to what's going on. Like the main antagonist like talks about owning the Na'vi in like the first like 10 minutes of the story. And it's just like, it's very clear, hey, this guy's the bad guy. Because he does bad things. Whereas I think that worked for Hi-Fi Rush because it's silly and goofy. For Avatar, it's never really worked for me. And it did not work for me for this and did not leave me wanting to continue playing. My game also glitched, and like part of the way that the game works is you're supposed to like when you harvest things, there's a way to do it that does less damage to the plant and you get more resources if you do that. My game glitched and it would not show me the mini game. So like, not sure if that was a me thing and like I needed to do something else to reset that or what, but like after a while it was just like, I literally don't know what to do. And so that was definitely an annoyance. Nate says it's definitely a game that was played. Okay, so I played these. I'm going to bump this up so I can talk about these at one time. We had the Pokemon Violet DLC, Scarlet and Violet DLC, with part 1, the Teal Mask, and part 2, the Indigo Disc. These came out at separate times. I played them basically back to back. And I mean, it's more Pokemon. I was listening to something and it was the idea like Pokemon Scarlet Violet is the game that has all of the potential and doesn't stick the landing. I feel like there's a lot of that with the DLC too. I was talking to people about it. It's like, I feel like if you have issues with the frame rate being bad in the base game, guess what you're going to have issues with in this game? If you have issues with the fact that there's literally no voice acting, so there's cutscenes that are like super important events that are just quiet, those are happening here as well. But that being said, it's more Pokemon and it is so much fun because of that. Nate says I just finished the DLC story and gotta be real, the story in them is better than the entirety of Sword and Shield. I did not play Sword and Shield, so I can't speak to that. But I will say, specifically for the Indigo Disc, I had a lot of fun with this story. It's a lot tighter where you go to this academy and you basically just start challenging the Elite Four. And it's all based on double battles, which is a super fun twist. I loved Indigo Disc. Teal Mask, I had less fun with. The story does set up Indigo Disc, so like, while Indigo is like the payoff for the story, Teal Mask I feel like kind of struggled. I wish that like Carmine and Kieran were more interesting characters quicker. Maybe a good way to endear people to your characters would be to have voice acting. Just a thought. Nintendo. Or Pokemon Company. And so with that said, yeah, Team of the prologue to Indigo Disc, 100%. Yeah, it really feels like they had this story to tell in Indigo Disc, and then they realized that they needed more to the DLC than that story. So then they did Teal Mask. There is an epilogue to this coming out in the new year. I think January 11th. And so I'm very interested to trying that because it's going to actually bring back your friends from the base game. So I'm interested in seeing what happens with that story. I will say also, I talked about this when we were streaming. It boggles my mind that Pokemon does not know what it means to be the champion. Like, in order to do the DLC, and Nate, keep me honest here. In order to do the DLC here, you have to have beaten the main story in the base game. Yes, January 11th. Thank you, Gary. But when you play this, the first time you like when you like are battling people, they're like, oh, you know about special attacks? I'm like the actual champion of my region. Like I'm a champion level trainer, I guess is the way that they word it. Like I get that not everyone would know who you were. Cause like there's other people that are champion level trainers like Nomura. But like, is that your rival's name? Am I blanking on that now? Now I'm worried that that's another Terraria for me, or I'm just like saying the wrong thing. But like, it boggles my mind that the people that are like here to guide you around this world do not know that you're the champion of this region. And so, and they're like surprised that you know how to Pokemon battle. And so we're going to do these separately. So Indigo Disc for me is landing way higher than Teal. I say way is landing higher than Teal Mask. I'm going to actually put it, above Rift Apart for now. And then Teal Mask. This is, I mean, again, it feels kind of weird to have these both on there. I think Teal Mask is going to land below Sea of Stars for me. And that feels like a decent spread. I think Pokemon Company heard voice acting and decided that meant writing dialogue during battles. That all he could think of for people to say yes. Yeah. I will also say one of the other reasons that I'm keeping these separate is I really like what Indigo Disc does with new Pokemon. Well, I say new Pokemon with Pokemon that are new to the game of like all of the starters are in the terrarium. It unlocks a whole bunch of legendaries that give you a region to go back to Paldea and find them. Voices should be read and not heard. It really feels like that's Nintendo. Like, that was also something that bothered me about Tears of the Kingdom that I did not talk about. But like, can no one talk in this world? How do I like the unlock system for the blueberry points? It's a double-edged sword. So thankfully, Gary invited me to a Discord where there's a bunch of people that are doing blueberry quests. And so I hopped into a couple of those. Gary and I did some on stream earlier in the week after I finished the main story. And then he invited me to that Discord. And so I went and did a bunch of those. And like, if you're doing blueberry quests with people, man, you rack up those points super fast. But if you're doing this solo, it is the struggle bus. I will say part of what it also has you do is the group quests. Some of the group quests are pretty miserable. Like the Ditto block ones that are just like fly around and eventually you'll find them. It was like, we talked about it in the stream, but like a lot of the buildings in the terrarium are like these weird blocks that looked like placeholder art. And then like doing the group quest with the Dittos, it's like, oh, do these look bad so that the Dittos are harder to find? But then like other ones are like, take a picture with people or make everybody make a sandwich. And it's like, that's kind of fun. Obviously it would be more fun if you actually knew the people you were with versus having to organize it through chat. But like overall, I like the blueberry points and I think it's an interesting system. It kind of reminds me of Pokemon Legends Arceus, where some of like the dex entries for Pokemon are like super weird and off the wall of like, use this one move to do this thing with this Pokemon. Find a small one of this. It kind of reminds me of that. Yeah. Let's see. Oh man. Okay. God of War Jackbox Party Pack 3. So for my birthday, we had friends over, picked up Jackbox Party Pack 3. And man, Jackbox is, and this is the classic, is the game good or is hanging out with friends good? Because we had a blast. Everyone got into it. I'm going to put it here below Cocoon. And we had a lot of fun. There's a couple games in this one that I would definitely recommend. I still really wish Jackbox was just a platform and they just added new games to that one platform, because now it's like, oh, we have these games in Party Pack 3, but then we have a different Party Pack on PC. And so like, how do we do that crossover and things like that? I really wish it was just something that you could log in with your account, and every year you could just buy the new games and put them into that platform. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. I mean, Jackbox is never something that like I intend to play, but it is something that's like I love having it available as an option for whenever people come over, because it's just such a solid way to have a lot of fun with people. And so definitely enjoy that. Dio says, Party Pack 3 is a solid game. Every one of the games are good. Yeah, we did 2 or 3 of them and had a lot of fun. And we did, because I think we did 3 murder parties, and then there was another game where you're like guessing a statistic or something, and those were, we did like 3 of that one as well, and they were both a ton of fun. Yeah, then it becomes a subscription service. Honestly, I'm okay with that. Like, if I want the new games, let me do it and just have it be a platform so I have them all in one place. I just hate that it's spread out all over the place. I was listening to something on Kind of Funny about how sports games are like macro transactions versus micro transactions. And that's kind of how Jackbox feels. Like, I would much rather just like every year, hey, here's my $30, my $40, give me the new games, add them in. I'd be more likely to do that if I had all the games in one place versus having them all spread out and having to like Google which party packs are the best ones and stuff like that. So, and he says, to Nintendo's credit, adding voice work to a game is a huge expense. I'm sure they crunched the numbers and decided it was not worth the investment, even though it would make it better, not from a financial standpoint. Yeah, and this is like a broad criticism of Nintendo that I have, of like, you have so many like super beloved IPs that just don't have voice acting. And it just like blows my mind of like, you really should start doing a lot more of that. Like the Zelda stories and Tears of the Kingdom are voice acted, and it's great. But like, it blows my mind that Pokemon is not voice acted, to the point that if you watch the trailer for the finale thing, it starts on silence because it's a text dialogue box. And I just cannot believe that it got okayed. Yeah, I just cannot understand it. Nate says he has all of the Jackbox. They're so good. 10 out of 10. Do recommend. God of War Ragnarok, Valhalla. This was announced at the Game Awards, and came out like a couple days later, and it was going to be this fun, like, I'm going to make everybody sweat and put it at first for now. It was this fun, like, roguelike mode that actually has like a deep story and is like an actual like epilogue for God of War Ragnarok, which I think is not what anyone was expecting. And man, I forgot how much I loved the gameplay and stuff and story for Ragnarok. I mean, which is like not surprising. It was my number 1 game from last year, but like, man, it was so good being back. It definitely took me a run or 2 to like get the combat back under my belt. And then it took me another couple runs to remember like the weapon switching and doing all of this. But like, the fact that this doesn't just show off the gameplay of the game, but also shows off the story and is voice acted with amazing actors and has some like really interesting overall plot stuff and like is extremely relevant to the character of Kratos. Like, it was so good. And I legitimately remember playing through this and being like, I might have said it on stream, like, is this my game of the year? Like, Valhalla was such a good addition and button to The Last of Us Ragnarok. That, yeah, I loved it so much. And it's definitely something that would, I mean, you have to buy God of War Ragnarok to play it, but it's definitely something that like, it's like required content because it is story based. And so for me, I think this is going to sit at number 3. And so, yeah, it was way more than I had expected it to be. Which I think was kind of the general sentiment from people. I think most people just expected it to be more gameplay, which would have been fine. But next we're going to get to a set of 5 random like indie games that I played. I'm going to talk about them all generally, then I'm going to go and spread them out on the thing. Call of the Sea is a kind of like walking sim puzzle game where you are this woman who comes to this island looking for your husband. You have this disease and he has come here to help find a cure. There's some like supernatural elements and stuff like that. This is a game that it might end up being my first platinum of 2024 because I do intend to go back. But at the same time, man, you walk so slow in this walking sim. But I really enjoyed it. If you followed a guide, you could probably platinum this on your first playthrough. I did not do that. But it's a relatively short game, and I definitely enjoyed it. We'll organize these all at the end. Curse to Golf. I talked about this in Locke's Discord. I wanted to like this game. It's kind of a cool like golf puzzle roguelike, where you are like one of the best golfers of all time, and then you die, and then you go to golf purgatory. And this is a game that I wanted to like, but did not click for me. I probably played, I don't know, hour and a half, 2 hours of it. And yeah, it was something that like, I can definitely see the appeal. It's super cute. I love the style, but it was just not for me. Human Resource Machine. This is another like puzzle game where you work at like this giant corporation, and you're like creating, essentially like programming the game. And so it'll be like, oh, we need you to get on the left conveyor belt, there's 5 numbers. We need you to get find the numbers that are the biggest and put them on the right side. And so it's kind of an interesting, like, programmy style game. I probably played the first third of it and then was done. But I could definitely see if you enjoy the puzzle games, that being a fun thing for you. So let's go organize those 3. So Call of the Sea, I think is going to go below Loop Hero. And then Curse to Golf is going to go... I feel weird putting this above a game that I actually finished. But like... actually, this is going to go even higher. I feel like this is above... I think this is above Forager for me. I think of those, like this clump of 4 games that I haven't finished, Curse to Golf is the one I'd be most likely to go back to. And then Human Resource, this one's pretty low for me. It's probably here, like 3rd from the bottom. Just like, I feel like I saw what this had to say and I just was not that interested. Me 2 hours ago, time for a nice short stream. Yeah. Me 2 hours ago being like, here's the 8 things that I want to do on stream today. We should have plenty of time. And now we're 2 hours in and we haven't even finished the first thing. So, yeah, so I feel like a good place for Human Resources Machine. Next we had Cat Quest. This is one of the Epic Games, free games for the holiday. Shout out to Locke, who posts every day when they go live, or every day what the game is. And so this is also a game that I think a Panda Boy mentioned that they had played, and so I wanted to go and check it out. Because I do my best. Hey, you know what? I appreciate it. And then somebody also posted it in the Mad Bird Discord, and so I was like, okay, I feel like I should check this out. So it's a fun, like, it's kind of a like top down or like 2.5D open world game. It's apparently like inspired by like Skyrim and stuff like that, but it's intended to be a quick story. So like it's like an action game where you're like moving around the overworld, fighting monsters, unlocking spells, and then there technically is a plot. It's pretty thin, kind of as you would expect from something inspired by Skyrim. But you're going and fighting these dragons, and you then save the world. It was pretty fun. I definitely enjoyed my time with it. Deanna, thank you for the lurk. It's definitely a game that I don't anticipate ever wanting to go back to. But I feel like I did enjoy my time with it. And so I think because of that, it's going to land above Outer Wilds. And then Panda Boy coming in with a cat emote. And then Snakebird Primer. This is another puzzle game that was part of the Epic Games thing. This one was fun. I actually finished the primer in the sense of like I finished not all of the levels, but I finished enough to like get to the end of the primer. It was fun. I enjoyed this. There are some levels that are like very cool and very interesting. Then there are others that feels like, man, you have to solve this one exact way. And I don't know how I was going to figure that out. I'm going to put it here above Honkai. And then the final of our 50th games that we've played, I literally started this 2 days ago. Strangers in Paradise Final Fantasy Origins. It's so funny seeing this game compared to Final Fantasy 16 and like the love that goes into all of the characters in 16, like their character models, their designs. And then like Some of the characters in Strangers of Paradise are just like, oh, your face is just shiny, right? Because they just didn't bother giving them a normal skin tone. That being said, I'm playing this on like the easiest easy mode, and I'm having a lot of fun. Kind of for the same thing. Like, while I would definitely not say this is remotely as good of a game as like Jedi Fallen Order, it kind of hits that same fantasy of being like, I'm supposed to be this super fancy soldier, this really interesting magical warrior, and playing on easy mode is just like the way to go. You don't haven't even heard of that game. I believe it came out like early last year, and then is now on like PlayStation Plus Extra. And so I had a lot of fun with it, or am having a lot of fun with it. I said I've only played like 5 hours. And so I'm going to put it here below Fallen Order for now. This one will be on the list for 2024. And I'll kind of talk about it a bit more there. So I don't know, maybe it's disingenuous to have it here when I'm only like 5 hours in. I might end up removing it from this list. But I'm really enjoying it. I like the different classes. I like that there's kind of like, when you unlock a lance, that unlocks the Lancer class. The first time you find like a mace, that unlocks the mage class. I really like how they do that. And then every class has like a skill tree, and then you're like gaining generally useful stats that then like, oh, if you unlock an ability on the Lancer, when you switch to the Dragoon, you can still use those Lance abilities. And so I'm really enjoying how that goes. It's, at least so far, I believe it's supposed to essentially be a retelling of Final Fantasy 1. Very like loose retelling, and it is goofy, but like I feel like the game is trying to be serious, but it's trying to be serious and is bad. In that sense of like, it's trying to be serious, but that's making it goofy. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so, but I've really enjoyed my time with it so far. We got to kill chaos, right? And so, but yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. And so let's do a pass through the list. We're going to go bottom to top, and we're going to kind of take this in sections. Even though this is going to be like ranked 1 through whatever, I do like to still think of this as like a tier list. And so like here we have like our D tier or F tier of like Foreclosed, Hotline Miami, Human Resource Machine. I actually think I'm going to, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if there's like a Hotline Miami club, but like, I feel like they'd be upset about this. I feel like this is like my like bottom tier. And then we have the games that are like, I get it, but this is not for me. When it comes to like Axiom Verge, Honkai, Snakebird, Fusion, Pandora, Outer Wilds. And I feel like that's like our D tier there. And then C being like Cat Quest, Forager, Burn to Golf, Meet Your Maker. Again, that was like probably my biggest surprise of this year. Call to the Wild, Loop Hero. Yeah, I'm feeling good about all of this so far. Goose Game, if we do play it more, might be on the list again next year. And then I'm going to put Superstars a lot higher. Again, it's hard to say if like, is the game fun or is hanging out with friends fun? Same argument as Jackbox, but playing this with Gary and Nate was just a ton of fun. Gary and Chunk. There we go. Then we have like our cool arts. Stranger Than Paradise is going to get moved down. This is why we go back through. It's going to go below Toem. And so then we have Toem, Chicory. Highly recommend both those games. Very fun, shorter games. Hogwarts Legacy. I'm actually going to put that above Starfield. Jedi Fallen Order. I mean, I think now this is where it gets weird. If it's like the experience of going back and replaying it, like Fallen Order is probably better than, like I'd probably put Fallen Order up here. But you know what? We're moving it. It's my list. I get to do what I want. We're gonna move Fallen Order up below Phantom Brigade. Okay. Then we have Starfield, Hogwarts Legacy, Tears of the Kingdom. Honestly, I might even do this. Put Hogwarts Legacy above Tears. Haven, I'm going to put above Sea of Stars. Fae Farm, that feels good. Teal Mask, Sea of Stars. Chia, Liza P, Jackbox, Cocoon. cannot recommend Cocoon enough. I was sad that Cocoon didn't win Game Awards Best Indie Game. I really liked that one quite a bit. Fallen Order, Phantom Brigade, Death's Door, Hi-Fi, Humanity, Tactica, Rift Apart, Indigo, yes, Engage, Valhalla, yes. Okay, overall I feel really good at this. So top 5 of the year for me is Spider-Man 2, Final Fantasy 16, Valhalla, Engage, and Unpacking. I feel pretty good about that list. Obviously, like Last of Us Part 1 is like one of my favorite games of all time, but like I think that I'm pretty happy with how that. We're going to change this to a ranked list, and then we are going to save. I'll probably come in and redo my blurb and stuff like that on my own time since we're going long. But yeah, I feel pretty good about that being our game of the years, or for the most fun we had with games in 2023. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty happy with that list. And so now I'm going to go relatively quicker. And I'm going to probably end up doing a lot of this off stream. But so this is my top games of all time list. And so right now I have Last of Us Part 2, Elden Ring, God of War, The Last of Us, Persona 5, Pokemon Gold, Marvel Spider-Man, Fire Emblem. And so actually before we go into edit mode on this. So the big change that I'm going to do for this list, which doesn't really matter to anybody besides me since this is my list, but I'm going to take off anything that is a direct sequel. And so games are going to be represented by one entry in that franchise. And so as some of the cleanup here, Last of Us Part 2 is going to stay. The Last of Us Part 1 is going to fall off the list. Same with the Marvel Spider-Man. And I think broadly speaking, games are going to be represented by what was my favorite entry in that franchise. So here, like Birth by Sleep is going to represent Kingdom Hearts as a whole, rather than having Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts on here. And so I think that that's the chain I'm going to do. But I will say this only applies to direct sequels. And so like Persona 5 and Persona 4 Golden are going to both still stay on the list because they are not direct sequels to each other. So that's going to be the big change that we're going to do for this. And I also think we're making an adjustment with that in mind. So last year I really struggled with putting Elden Ring at number 2 because God of War Ragnarok I felt like was my game of the year. But I feel like with this change, that kind of is going to change things up here. And so I'm not going to go through the whole list, but I am going to just kind of knock off some stuff here. I'm going to come through. I'm going to change this to Spider-Man 2. I'm going to change this to Ragnarok. And so like using another IP as an example, both Fire Emblems would be on the list if Engage was going to make the list. But I think for now, I'm going to just leave it at that. I think Control is moving up on the list. Control is a game that I put on there because like I really enjoyed it. But like Control is a game. I'm going to bump that up to number 9, number 10, below Skyrim. And it's a game that I've just continued to think about. And so I think that we're going to bump that up higher on the list, just because it is a game I'm always thinking about, and so or has always stayed with me. Maybe that's another way of saying that. So 2 more things. We're gonna go through this one quick, so that way we can get to the other ones. Throughout the year, I made a list of or maintained a list of games that were announced or that I wanted to play. I believe they are in this order based on when they were talked about for the first time, not based on anything else. It might have been loosely release date themed, but I don't know if that's actually accurate. And so there were 32 games that I was excited for, and I kind of want to just do a pass and talk through what we played and what we didn't. So Forspoken and Engage came out at about the same time. The reviews for Forspoken were not great on how the story went, and so that was why we ended up going with Engage. At some point in time, I do still want to play Forspoken, because I did like the gameplay from the demo for it, but we never got there. Talked about Hogwarts Legacy during the thing. Let's see, Octopath Traveler 2. I want to get to this. I know Varoth mentioned this in the games that they enjoyed, and I really liked. I like the aesthetic of it, and it's a game that also. Oh, chat! If you've played any of these and I need to like prioritize playing them, please let me know. And so, but yeah, I need to play Octopath 1. I don't believe 2 is a direct sequel. In the sense of like, I don't think you have to have played 1 to have played 2. So it's like, it's definitely on my list to get to. But I feel like kind of got buried with this year. Wild Hearts was like a non-Capcom take on Monster Hunter that I think looked really cool. I know a lot of people really enjoyed. It's one that I feel like I missed the boat on. And then because I missed the boat, we just never got there. I don't know if people are still playing it or not, but how did I rank Hogwarts? Was going to buy it, but then saw the Switch graphics. Let's go back to our list now that we have it as a ranking. Let's do list order. We're not. Hello? List order. It is not respecting the list order. There we go. And I guess Hogwarts Legacy was at the top. But so Hogwarts Legacy. Now I cannot find it. There we go. Landed at 24, so about halfway for the year. I did play it on PlayStation, and so PlayStation 5. So that would definitely change things versus the Switch graphics. But I know a friend of mine has been enjoying. She said she's been enjoying the Switch version, although yeah, it definitely does not look as good as the other versions. So. Let's see. That was Wild Hearts. Next up, Wulong. This game I thought looked interesting. It didn't necessarily review great, and so I kind of didn't get into it. Talked about Survivor. I need to go play the Burning Shores DLC. I'd meant to do that this like holiday time, but just did not get there. But I've heard really good things about the story and kind of where it goes with Aloy. I'm really excited for that. This is definitely the type of thing that I'm going to eventually play. It's just a matter of when. Talked about Final Fantasy and Tears, Diablo 4. I played one of the server slams for Diablo 4 and enjoyed it, but just not enough to actually pick up the actual game. I know some people have, in like the live service side of things, have not been super hyped for how Diablo 4 has been handled from like a seasonal standpoint, but it's definitely a game that I do intend to eventually go and play. Fires of Rubicon, heard really good things. It's from Soft. I definitely enjoyed Elden Ring and Demon Souls, and have intended to go and play this, and just didn't get there. I think in a different year I would have played it, but we did not get there. Assassin's Creed Mirage. This kind of goes to the topic that we had earlier in the chat about the devs for Tears not understanding why people would want them to go back to a more like streamlined, for lack of a better word, a non-open world version of Zelda. I wanted to play Mirage because it's kind of returning to the roots of like early Assassin's Creed, as much as I did love Valhalla. I played Pathfinder last night and had shared like an Eivor gif in the chat and was talking to people about it, and like it brought up that like literally my character is Eivor coded. Like that's who they're supposed to be. That's who they're based on. And so I loved Valhalla. And I did not get to Mirage, but I love that they're kind of doing the smaller open world for those games. Talked about Avatar. Baldur's Gate. Deanna and I are talking about doing a co-op playthrough of Baldur's Gate. So I fully intend to get it. And this will, if that happens, or if I just finally get there, Baldur's Gate 3 might be my game of the year for 2024. It might just be the like, hey, I finally got there. And yes, it is amazing. Eternites. Oh, because I fully anticipate that Baldur's Gate is like my game. Like it was just time commitment wise. It's such a long game. And there's so much to it that I just didn't get there. But like I have 80 hours in the Pathfinder Kingmaker game. And yeah, I need to jump into Baldur's Gate. Eternites, the love letter to Persona 5, fully intended to get there, didn't get there. I feel like as soon as this drops on like PlayStation Plus, I'll dive into it if I can find it on a good sale. Kind of staying with Goodbye Volcano High. I like the dinosaur, like character-driven game. Wanted to play it, but just never got there. And that's another one that like I'll be keeping an eye out on and eventually playing. Talked about Spider-Man and Starfield during the chat. Transformers Reactive. I don't even know if this actually came out. It was on the list. I thought it seemed interesting, but just never got there. Atomic Hearts looked interesting. It kind of has that BioShock aesthetic. It's another one that like I kind of just made the decision that this was not a full price game for me. And so eventually I would love to try it and play through the story because it looks interesting, but it was just not one that I was interested in paying full price for. Alan Wake 2, just discussed. Love Control so much. And because of that, I kind of wanted to play Alan Wake 2, but it's scary and I'm a scaredy cat. I do fully intend to go and play this at some point in a bright room, where I will not be spooked as much. But I've heard like the Herald of Darkness, all that kind of stuff that they've done for it. It just seems like so insane and over the top that I really want to go and experience this game. I've watched a little bit of Let's Plays for it, of like the first like hour or so, just to kind of see. But I want to go and actually like play through the game. Talked about Liza P. The Expanse, Telltale. I think this came out. I think I remember hearing people talk about it. It looks interesting. I've never like watched a lot of The Expanse. I think I've only seen one episode, but this game looked interesting. Just never got there. Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. This looked super cool. Has some very big voice actors in it. The idea that like you're creating this musical as you go seems very cool. I think it's based on Greek mythology. Another game that I fully intend to get to at some point. Immortals of Avium. This is my like Cameron loves games that are shooters, but you don't use guns. You use magic instead. Wanted to get to this, just never swung it. Sea of Stars was mentioned in the previous. Gloomhaven came out on console this year. Cannot recommend that game enough. I played it on PC. We did some morning streams of it back in the day. So I guess technically, like, I think I did play this some this year, but it was continuing my campaign from last year, so I didn't put it back on the list, but perhaps should have. But I don't remember if people were really talking about the console version and if it did well or not, but I definitely think that it's something that, again, I highly recommend and I really enjoyed. Mario Wonder, talked about it throughout the stream. I didn't get there. It's another game that I fully intend to play at some point, but it might be like the next time I travel, I might pick up Wonder and play it on that trip and kind of use that as the jumping off point. But yeah, again, fully intend to get there at some point, but wish list, backlog, place that. Okay. And then we talked about Tactica and the Pokemon DLC as part of that. And so, so some cool stuff. Definitely some, I feel like we did a good chunk of like, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-ish, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we played about half the games that I was excited for this year. I'll take it. There's probably about, of that remaining 17, there's probably about half of those that I would probably want to go back and play if I could, but we'll kind of see what that looks like. And so now, with all of that in mind, I already have my lists, and if you're interested in following me on GG app, you can do that. Let me drop the link in chat again. I think I mentioned this at the very beginning as well. But if you are interested in hanging out, you can do that by following me there. You can also find the list as part of my profile. But we're going to do a quick pass through some games that are coming out in 2024. It's super bright. Okay, I was going to switch between these, but I feel like the bright mode is going to like murder people's eyes. So we're not going to do that. We're going to just hang out on this. I'm using, again, it's going to be bright. I'm sorry. We're using the Game Informer's list. This is all the games that that either have confirmed dates or in the TBAs to be announced for next year. And we're going to kind of just see what we're excited for. This is a list that I maintained throughout the year, so this isn't like locked in today. But just for the sake of everyone's eyes, I'm going to keep this on a different screen. Okay, so let's keep going. So in January of next year, we have the new Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown, which I think looks very interesting. I know there's a lot of people that are torn because it's not like it's more of a throwback to old school Prince of Persia. But again, I think that's kind of interesting. We also have, to like literally no one's surprise, probably one of my most anticipated games of the year, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. I'm super excited for their roguelike mode. Let's see. Last year, we played Like a Dragon, or Yakuza Like a Dragon. And it was, it was my number 13 of last year. I really liked this game. I never considered myself a Yakuza fan before. But I'm very interested in trying it out. Let's see. Also, chat, let me know, what are you anticipating for next year? Let me also drop, here's the Game Informer list. Let me put that in chat for people as well. If there's anything that you think looks very cool that I should keep an eye out for, there we go. Let me know. Then, so those three are the big ones for January. In February, there's Persona 3 Reloaded. Then this one's going to be a bit of an ambitious ask in terms of if I actually play it. But there's also Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. We'll see. That's a game that's going to have to review very well for me to want to dive into it, as I'm much more of a Marvel fan than a DC fan. But we'll see. I enjoyed Arkham Asylum. I haven't played the other Arkham games, but next up, Helldivers. This is another one that I'm only kind of tentatively interested in, but I'm going to put it on the list just to have it there. I think that it looks interesting. I enjoyed the first Helldivers, and so we're going to kind of see what becomes of this one. And then after that, we also have Skull and Bones is finally coming out. The inspired by Assassin's Creed Black Flag naval combat. It's finally releasing, and so we'll see if that's going to actually be good. I'm interested in playing it. I think it looks very cool, and so it'll kind of just be how it plays. It's also the game that I could see playing on stream with Locke, of us hanging out playing this game, being a lot of fun. Getting Gary and Chunk in there as well, I could see that being a lot of fun to play through that. We have Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, basically. This is the early front runner for my game of the year of if this game lives up to what Remake was. This is definitely something that is going to be a huge thing for me. And that's the very end of February. So then going into March, we have two games that I'm very interested in. What game was that? The one that you said we found to play? Skull and Bones, Gary. This is an Ubisoft pirate game. I'm interested in Princess Peach Showtime. No clue what that is actually going to, if that's going to actually be something that we get, kind of like how I didn't get Wonder. It might be this thing that we skip over, but that game looks really interesting. Then we're going to also put in Rise of the Ronin, which is a PlayStation exclusive, I want to say first party game. It looks kind of Souls-like. It looks a little bit more, I want to say grounded versus realistic, in the sense that it doesn't look like there's magic, but you're definitely doing some crazy over the top things in the game. And so we'll see. That's one that I would love to get good reviews, and that would kind of then point me in that direction. April, It's not necessarily anything crazy coming out. And then now we're getting into the parts of the year that are going to be a little bit more hazy. In August, the only game that they have on their list is Black Myth Wukong, which I am interested in. Visions of Mana is on your list, but it's not a lot of games currently on your list. Maybe the year of going through the backlog. That's currently, I mean, like I say currently, I have already have 15 games on here or whatever, 10 games on here, but we'll see. I could definitely see this being a year of going back and doing a bunch of other stuff. And so of the games that they have that on the Game Informer site that actually have release dates, these are the ones. I don't know why I'm scrolling so much. Sorry if that messed with people. These are the ones that I'm most interested in. They have some that do not have release dates, so we're going to add those as well. 33 Immortals, which I believe is Thunder Lotus. I could be wrong there. Let me check that. Yes, it is Thunder Lotus, the same people as Spiritfarer and Sunder. I believe, number of players 1 to 33. So I'm very interested in trying that out and seeing what that's going to be about. Let's see. What else was there? There's a Beyond Good and Evil 20th Anniversary Edition coming out. I've never played Beyond Good and Evil, but it kind of has that sleeper cult classic kind of thing, and so we're going to put it on the list. Let's see. Apparently there's a new Cat Quest coming out. Let's see. Okay, since we're scrolling through, it's bright, sorry. We're going to kind of go through this now that we're not flipping back and forth as much as we kind of go through. Okay, Foam Stars. So this is the Square Enix definitely not Splatoon, but kind of Splatoon. It's going to be a live service games on PlayStation. I'm interested in trying it. We'll see what it's going to actually, if it's something we actually get to. Greedfall 2. I'm going to put this on here. I enjoyed Greedfall. I never finished it. It definitely felt like a proof of concept rather than an amazing game. But I'm interested in what they could do with a sequel. Let's see. Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. Oh, it's a mobile game. Let's see. What else is there? Flight Simulator. Cool for the people that's for. Multiverses is re-releasing. Because they took it down and are now bringing it back. What's this? Paper Trail? Is that a game that I've... No, that's not what I was thinking of. Then, let's see. Rugrats, Stalker. Let's see. Oh, Star Wars Outlaws is going on there. This looks really cool. We're getting a Star Wars game that is focused more on the bounty hunter side of the universe. And so that's something that's going to be very interesting. The game looks pretty fun. I love third-person cover shooters, and so this seems right up my alley. Isn't there a Braids re-release remake? Yeah, I believe so. Braids is not a game that I'm overly familiar with. It might have actually had a release date. And so that's something that I know some people like. I don't think I've ever even played Braid. But I know that is something that is a beloved IP. Let's see. Test Drive. Let's see. Wolf Among Us 2. I'm interested to see new Telltale as they continue to do stuff. A Ninja Turtles game. I was looking at some stuff for this Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. I didn't play the first one, but it seems like the kind of game that I would like. We'll put it on the list for now. I could definitely see this being the kind of game that I won't get to. But it had a great story. Again, it's a game I've only ever heard good things about, but I feel I just have no touch point for what it is. And so hello, everything's okay. I was did we lose our list? Okay, so that's where we're going to end with that list for now. So what are we looking at right now? We have 17 games so far in roughly release-ish order, with the exception of these ones towards the end that don't actually have release dates. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of other stuff that comes out this year. We're going to have a lot of indie games, plural. Those don't typically land on like the Game Informer list because they're such smaller teams and a lot of their release dates are a bit more nebulous. But I'm interested in doing that. This might also be the year of like Hollow Knight Silksong. I believe Hades 2 is in the works. I would love for us to get Wolverine this year. He forgot Black and White 3. If from a Pokemon standpoint, if I know we were talking about this in one of the other streams, if we were to get Pokemon Legends Kyurem, I know I said it wrong in the morning stream. I said Kyogre, which is a different legendary that starts with KY. But if we were to get like an Arceus style or a Legends style Black and White game, I would be super excited. I would really like them to see what they do. I know Pokemon Day isn't like that far away, and so we could definitely see some bigger announcements for something coming out this fall. Hopefully we don't get another year where Pokemon Company tries to do 3 games like that in one year, where they did like Diamond Pearl remake, Arceus, and Scarlet Violet all in the same year, and I feel like those games suffered because of it. But we'll see. Also, like we could potentially be seeing Switch 2 coming out this year. The Super Nintendo Switch is what I would like them to call it if I could have my way, Nintendo. But we'll see what that looks like and how that shakes things up. But yeah, so that's what we have today. A kind of different, definitely longer stream. The SNE Switch. Yes, Dio. I like that a lot. I think that would end up needing to be the acronym. But yeah, I'm very interested in what we're going to see for this year. And because like so far, like last year, I feel like for 2023, we knew about a whole lot going into the year. This year, it feels like other than like Rebirth, at least for what I'm interested in, it's like Rebirth and Outlaws are the only like new things that are like must buys for me right now. And everything else is kind of up in the air compared to last year, where it really felt like there were so many games that were that I felt like I had to get. So we'll see. That might be a good thing. I mean, that's a natural like ebb and flow. Maybe this is another year that I can go and replay a bunch of games that I never got to, like I'm doing with Strangers in Paradise right now. But as long as Ilka doesn't have another game. Ilka. What's Ilka? That doesn't make another game. You're happy. I don't know what that is, Gary. And so, but yeah, that is going to be our lists for this year. We do have, like I said, if you do want to follow me on GG app, make an account. I'm not sponsored. This is not me pushing the app. It's just what I use. And so kind of looking back over, game of the year for me was Marvel's Spider-Man 2, followed by Final Fantasy 16 and God of War Ragnarok Valhalla. And then rounding out the top 5 was Fire Emblem Engage and Unpacking. And rounding out top 10 are Last of Us Part 1. Shout out to the Last of Us TV show. Then we had Jedi Survivor, Indigo Disc, Rift Apart, and Persona 5 Tactica. I might come and do some like loose moves, but like I would say broadly speaking, I would like not anticipate anything like moving up and down more than a couple rows. And so the people who made Brilliant Dynamite, I gotcha. And so yeah, so we'll see if there might be some shifting around here. Like Cocoon may move up a little bit. I'm not 100% sure. And so, But yeah, with that, that is where we're going to call the stream for today. Thank you everyone who came, hung out, shared their opinions on games, or just hung out and listened. I'm very excited for what this can be. I'm hopefully going to get this on YouTube. It'll probably be one longer video just based on how we went, but I might try to cut out this, like, the other lists portions into their own videos. And so we'll see. Definitely encourage people to, if you're not following us on YouTube, go to do that. It's definitely one of the things that I need to get better at in the new year is actually posting the content over on YouTube. And so everyone, as Dio says, I hope you have a fantastic New Year's Eve, everyone. Stay safe, make good decisions, and I hope you have a fun time. And so, but yeah, with that, let's go find someone to raid. I think we are going to go send a raid over to Board Gamer Steph, who looks to be doing a ranking on their end. Let's see. Top 10 games of December, and then King Monster Island Redwood. Yeah. So let's go send a raid over to them. I hope everyone has a fantastic time. I will catch you in Discords. Not sure if we're going to do a stream tomorrow. I would expect not, but there's a chance that we do something random on stream tomorrow since I have the day off. But I'll keep everyone in the loop. And yeah, have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye.